Good evening. My name is Marilyn Donahue. I'd like to welcome you to this evening's Wareham Finance Committee meeting, March 13th, 2013. As always, the public is welcome to attend our meetings. We do televise them for your convenience, and I'm here to give you a brief introduction to some of the topics that were discussed this evening. If you have specific questions for any members of the Finance Committee, our information is available on the town website, and we do try to get our agendas posted and our minutes posted in a timely fashion. Not always possible, but we do try. Tonight's meeting focused on the budget as it will be presented at town meeting. We had our town administrator run through the numbers as he sees them at this point. There have been changes, obviously, since the preliminary budget that was presented to us in December. One of the problems is we don't have final numbers from the school committee yet. They are trying diligently to make the cuts needed on their side of the budget. They're going to reduce a $1.7 million budget gap, and it's going to be painful on their end and on the town side. That still leaves us with a deficit between $1 million and $500,000. One of the biggest concerns that the town administrator and our committee has is the lack of guidance that we have received with regard to where these cuts should come from. We have asked the Board of Selectmen, and the town administrator has asked for guidance, and it will require public input too, as to what very difficult choices that we're going to have to make on this budget as we come up with a balanced budget for the next fiscal year. We then moved on to discuss one of the other large numbers on our budget, which is the Upper Cape School budget. They are asking for an increase in the budget. They're also looking for additional funds for a capital item. I understand there will be a water pollution control. I apologize, I wasn't participating in most of that discussion. We are going tomorrow night for the budget presentation at Upper Cape, and we will have them in to see our committee as well, so we'll have more final information on that as it comes. Finally, the Finance Committee did go through the town warrant articles as we had them from the town warrant as was presented to us. We tried to take care of as many housekeeping articles as possible. One of our great frustrations has been, in the years that I've been on this committee, and the others have also voiced this, is the very limited time frame that we get for the information on these. So housekeeping articles are something that appear to us year after year. They're standard. We assume that the language that's put forth in the motions will be correct. So we can pretty much pass those up without a lot of discussion, as we very much hope will happen on town meeting floor as well. Again, they're housekeeping articles. We can vote them just to pass them because that's what we need to do, the business of running the town. We tabled those articles that were going to require further discussion, that we did not have enough information on, or that we did not have final numbers for. We did hear community preservation and make our votes on the community preservation, both the housekeeping articles and the new monies, the new articles that will appear for disbursements from community preservation. We probably will not take a vote on the bylaws, the dog bark bylaws, which you might be interested in reading because that will affect quite a number of citizens, but we're not sure of the financial impact of that. And finally, we did vote to reject the budget as it stands now in hopes that we get further guidance and a budget that we all feel that we can live with and vote on satisfactorily. Thank you. Enjoy the meeting.
We're starting a little bit late. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
That's where Cranston Street.
Okay.
Mr. Worthing, Mr. Camerano, Mr. Trudeau, Mr. Heath, myself, and our beautiful chairman, Mrs. Brown.
Oh, thank you. Any citizen participation?
Could be hard.
Okay, none.
Citizens?
All right. Derek? We're up for you, sir. Budget update.
Is that where we're at already?
That's where we're at, my friend.
You can add Bonnie to our roll call.
Oh, Mrs.
We did.
Cattouli, the talented Mrs. Cattouli.
Yes.
Never mind. Go with it.
I have an updated budget memo that I will be
We may have
handing
gotten
out.
Is this it?
That's the budget. I don't think, did you do the budget memo on
The
this?
estimate,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, great.
we have them.
I have a couple pieces of scrap in my hand then.
Could I have a piece of that?
Yes.
In your package.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first thing I'll say on this is you'll notice that it does not include the school numbers on there as they voted. I know they're currently working on their budget numbers and I've asked for the most up-to-date one. So even though you'll see a zero balance at the end, so a balanced budget, I know that there's probably approximately 500 to 1,000 to $1 million difference, the deficit on there. The first part, if you go to page 1 of 5, you'll see that that has the updated governor's numbers for the cherry sheet aid. Again, part of the concern on those is our assessments went up to almost the same as what our cherry sheet aid additions were, and if there's any cuts to the cherry sheet aid, that will be, I don't see the assessments going down, so that will be a hit to the town. Besides that, on the first page, revenue side, none of the projections have changed. If you move to page 2 of 5, the first item is the finance committee line. I took the liberty of removing $1,000 from that line to help balance some of the others. The next line is the reserve fund. That will be one of the largest changes on here of $502,125. The reason for that increase is what I've done is I have level funded the Upper Cape Cod Tech budget to what they were in fiscal 2013. The $502,125 represents what they've requested in addition to the last year's funding, or a 19.35% increase. Question?
No, I'm just trying to digest that. What you're saying is that it includes 2 years of increase.
Their increase was just
$250,000 in.
last year they would have been about $275,000
Okay.
increase from FY12 to FY13.
And then this year, they're looking for another $250,000.
No, they're looking for $500,000.
$500,000 this year?
Yes,
We funded that last year.
we did fund the full amount last year.
I thought it was like 272 or something like that.
What I think he's trying to say, Tom, is that this is the money they want. His budget reflects last year's number. If that budget passes, that $502,000 that's going into reserve fund will disappear, because he'll have to use it. But right now, he's squirreling it away temporarily into the reserve fund.
Because more than likely, we're gonna end up having to pay it.
But if it didn't, then he would be able to at some point move that money.
Yes,
The
sir.
original number that came to us, Tom, was 272. All right, however, subsequently, they came back when the populations of the school districts came out and said based on the reduction in our overall school population, there was an additional 230,000 that the town of Wareham would have to pay in as well.
Okay.
That brings it to the
Okay.
happiness.
Yeah.
You did hear 272,
Yes.
but there was an additional 230.
Sorry, thanks.
Okay.
So that is the holding place for that. The third item is the assessor's expenses. There is a $3,000 reduction to their fuel reimbursement account. If they were paid mileage on what they do, it's a large town, they're driving, measuring and such, it would be a lot more expensive. However, with the new vehicle that we have, instead of paying mileage, actually paying the fuel gallons and such, I believe that we will not need that much for their travel reimbursements and such. So we're able to take $3,000 out. The next line is the personnel services, a reduction of $1,000. To be blunt, that's one that we really cannot absorb, but need to make sure that we're able to pay some of the assessments that have increased that you'll see further on. One of my thoughts on this is to go back, and now when a department loses an individual through whatever attrition process, that they have to pay for the advertising. And what you do is you wait a few extra days to hire the person and pay for the advertising out of that, instead of having one budget. Not the best process, but one that we have to do. The information management technology wages, you'll see a $39,000 increase. What I've done is taken the tech person from the police department that was dedicated to the police department, brought that person over directly under the IT director, Matt Underhill. So we're able to do that. We had the half position in there. We will delete that half position and have the fully funded in there. So now we have 2 people in the IT department.
That's a good move. That's a great move.
How experienced is the police department person?
He's
Been with us a while?
yeah, he's been with us for a while. Without sounding sarcastic, he's not Matt Underhill. There's really, with Matt's level of knowledge and what's going on here, we can't replicate that. But he is knowledgeable, and he's able to take over when Matt's not around, and we have a level of service that's satisfactory.
Question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
What does that do? Are the police savvy with that? Are they okay with that? I know they don't have a choice, but I mean, how do they feel about that?
They're probably not the happiest people around on that, but we've got IT in the water pollution control facility that needs it. We've got IT on the town side, and we need to allocate our funds to sort of.
I think it's a great move. Yep, thank you.
Good move.
The next item is the town planning expenses. If you remember during the all-day budget hearing, speaking with Mr. Charbonneau, he believed that he could reduce by approximately $2,000. One of the reductions is that we are no longer funding their copier and machine in there. They had one of the large ones with the lease of about $120 a month, so about $1,440, and there were some other expenses that they felt that they could do without. We're now on page 3 of 5. The sick leave bonus wages, the last 2 people that were at the 100% reimbursement have retired. I feel confident that we can reduce this a little bit with some of the projections on there. 3,000 is not a lot, but it's well within a range I think we can be safe on. You'll then see the police wages line reduced by $39,043. The next item is the municipal maintenance and public buildings expenses, $10,000 increase. What I did was we had a budget article on there for casual laborers for the cemetery. That would just go into the municipal maintenance budget anyways on there. I've placed it in the budget. I think it's the smoother way, and those monies should be under the municipal maintenance direction on there, because actually the cemetery commissioners, my understanding is I don't believe they can have any control over that money, and it would be the municipal maintenance department that would be hiring those anyways. So I think that's the only department that's okay with me right now. One of the other items is the street lights. I've reduced it from 110 to 105,000. I believe we're going to be able to start with grant funding to replace the period light heads in onset, also with better better light sources such as the LED on there. We've been working with CETA, Salpina, he's been excellent, understanding that that's part of the historic charm of Onset on there. To be blunt, the street lights budget is under what it should be if we were going to maintain and repair these lights. So this is, that project from CETA is a bit of a lifesaver on here. The next item, it's something that people feel that I'm calling their baby ugly on this one. It is not. I've zeroed out the recycling budget. I just can't see us putting 8,000 or 5,000 in that during this time.
Thank you, I think that's a good call.
And it's,
It should be self-liqudating.
Let's ask him, and let's keep in order, please.
I agree
Yes.
with Tom. I think there is a way that they should be self-funding. And, you know, I deal with stuff like that, but they should be able to do that. And if they're not doing that, then maybe it's something that either they need to sit down with the right people or the right people need to sit down with them somehow or another, because they should be able to fund themselves. That's simple as that.
If I might.
Sure.
Mr. Trio?
That was one of my issues. Last year, we talked about expenses, and they're talking about they're paying somebody to take it away, or they take it away for free, and they don't want to look internally at what's going on. This may force them to do a serious review of the way they operate.
Somebody, are you raising your hand, Dominic?
I am.
Okay,
First, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just to pass on, my wife's involved with the Boys and Girls Club, and they took a tour of CMAS. And the comment at CMAS is that we're the bottom of the barrel in terms of our ability to recycle, that Wareham is. And I don't understand why, but that's not a good thing to have. Just a comment that
It's never, no one's
that's how we're
ever,
looked at.
no one's ever, I believe in recycling, but,
We all do.
but nobody's enforcing it. You know, nobody's enforcing it, and it's just, unless you educate folks and have the funding to educate folks, and you do it, you're not gonna get involvement.
It's got to be a PR thing through the newspapers and things of that
Definitely.
nature too.
I mean, when the city came in Boston started, I mean, they were pushing, they had meetings, they did everything to educate folks. And we had to put signs in buildings and everything. And it's a lack of education. That's what it is, basically.
Well,
Go ahead.
through you, they were telling me when I was there one time that they actually pay someone to haul off the tin cans and stuff.
That was
And
great.
it's, right now, light iron is going for $8 to $12 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So they should be paid for that material. Am I right?
Well, you spoke to them about it yourself.
Yeah,
You-
they said that they pay someone to haul that off.
Yeah.
That's worth money,
Mhm.
so.
I did.
Yes, Mr. Brown.
We had a customer, not a customer. We did some business with one of the companies I dealt with. They're not a scrap metal company. In fact, they're an automotive company. And what they were doing, they were taking rotors and whatnot and putting them into steel barrels. And the guy was coming and picking them up, charging them basically $100 a month to haul off the scrap. Of course, he was making $400, $500 a month off that stuff. And that's what I mean. That if we're paying someone to haul off this, first off, we need to designate what it is. We probably need to review how the recycling works. This is probably not the time or the place for that discussion, but, you know, it can self-fund itself.
Absolutely.
But, no, I don't want to get, those folks do a great job and they volunteer. And I mean, I go there on Wednesdays quite frequently with the officers stuff. And they're a nice bunch of folks, but, you know,
Nothing wrong with that group.
no. Okay, yes.
I just wanted to ask us, how does this affect, isn't there was a director there that was being paid, supposedly?
To write grants, didn't he say he was writing
yeah,
grants?
they have a consultant that they hire
Yeah.
on there,
Report to the
a
government.
recycling coordinator. It's not a town employee.
It's not a town employee?
No.
Not a town employee.
Okay, I guess I was misunderstood on that, thank you.
They did approach asking if that person could be brought back in as a town employee, and obviously at this point in time, that's, you know. Unless it's the world's greatest grant writer that's gonna bring us $1 million. I don't see us adding 23. If you continue on, you'll see the veteran services, our assessment has increased and the projection is $290,000. How that works is we have a one-time assessment on them from the region that we're in of roughly $22,000. The rest of that money is veteran benefits paid out to the veterans themselves. And it looks like we'll be at approximately $290,000 next year. That's one of the line items I believe in the FY13 budget where we're teetering in between them, hitting dead on for 275 or going over. So that's one causing me a little angst. Yeah, so if you continue down, you'll see we've the $3,000 departmental wage decrease is the sick leave bonus. You'll see the expenses increase. Technically, that's only 500. That's only about 8,000 on there because I believe it was a $502,000 increase to the reserve. If we flipped on the other side, and if you took the 2,000 out of the municipal maintenance account that we brought into the cemetery article, this would be a $5,000 reduction to what we saw in FY14 for the December budget. The next page on there, which is page 4 and 5, you'll see the reduction to the school net spending of the $130,963. What that represents is on the increase to the Upper Cape Cod Tech, when there was the $200,000 increase, that's where it was taken from as of right now. Again, these are not the school committee's numbers, so I just want to make that abundantly clear. One of the areas we were able to save is under the fixed costs. And again, we are not going to fund the money for Bryant Farm, for Tremont Nail, or for the CETA, the septic loan program. We've always had that money just in case it was voted down in town meeting because the town would have to pay that. However, these are appropriations that have already been approved and you shouldn't need to do them every year. So we don't need those monies. We would have a larger savings. However, part of this in here, I've budgeted the article for the school textbooks and technology, what it would cost us in there roughly. So about $80,000, $78,000 in change for the principal and $8,000 for interest on there.
So you get about 80,000 in there for the books and technology?
I would give it a value of 80.
Okay.
Is it technology just for an incremental improvement, or is it for totally?
My understanding is to complete their wireless program, trying to bring
all the schools?
I don't know if it's all the schools on there. I know there's one of the schools, the high school and such, that they've been trying to put it through. If I told you it was all of it, I would be.
There was a recap in Sunday's Globe of how the schools stand and where they are in terms of their technology investments.
Really?
Sort of interesting each.
So we, of every town?
Of every town, yeah.
So
well, I don't know, let's say the South Coast.
Okay, so where we fall?
We're behind, but, I mean, we're not, there are other towns that are probably in a similar position, but several of them, there are a lot of them, and they're going ahead with it. I mean, everybody's pouring it.
They have to,
I'm sorry. One of the things I wanted to bring forth is if we look at it as simple math, that article tomorrow gives us a value of this year's budget worth $400,000 approximately. So essentially, you can credit that. That's one of the things I'm thinking you're crediting towards the net school spending number. So that $1.7 million. We've essentially reduced that to about 1.3 because we are bringing them the textbooks that they need. Not all of them, but what's the immediate need for that. So that's one of the things I wanted to keep in mind. when looking at it, I know it looks horrible to have decreased the 130,963. However, not including the actual principal and interest, I'm giving that a value of $400,000 to the budget that's not seen on there.
Is that provided, sorry, is that provided that it passes?
Passes. If it doesn't pass, then that's, I have to admit, I think that would be a mistake at this time. If we can get the textbooks on there for what we're borrowing at now, you know, it's the simplest way to try and help the budgets move. I hate borrowing for books? Yes, but I don't see any other way to get it done on there. You'll see the next item that's really of change is under the offsets, the county and state assessments. That's the roughly $239,000 increase. Under other budget articles, the cemetery, the casual laborers, that's the deletion of that account on there, which was moved to the municipal maintenance. And as we go down, we have the surplus deficit number of 0, but again, that's not a true number because it's not, it does not include what the school committees vote. What I think would be helpful as we continue on with having this column, I don't like sort of the comparison of the two, but I think you'll have a school committee column and a administration, for lack of a better word, column, just so we see the side-by-side comparisons, and the main changes will be the school numbers. The next page, page 5 of 5, are the enterprise fund revolving accounts and the EMS. Those numbers have not changed.
Certainly.
Have you got any feel at all for the school at this point? Have there been enough discussions where you have a fairly decent feel for what's coming down from them?
I can tell you they're serious on 2 issues. Try and make sure that the cuts that they're making keep them operational and actually looking at every single part and every employee as to what they're doing and what they can do. I have no doubt that the budget reductions are going to reduce a loss of staff, i.e. teachers.
Did you meet today with them, right?
No,
Oh, you did.
no. Last week I had met with them. You know, if we look at our budget as a whole, one of the things that we're trying to achieve is with the health care is mitigate that through the GIC or change in splits, whatever's going to end up working with the PEC there. One of the other major issues is the Upper Cape Cod Tech budget. You know, you can't say they're doing a bad job, they're doing a great job, but it's, in a way, it starts feeling like it's being done off of the rest of the students on that. So we have a $500,000 assessment, and I understand part of that's the formula, but it's a tough pill to swallow. But that budget's only going to get more expensive as they look to put their water and sewer treatment plant on their facility. It's not going to go down, so we have to figure out what we really want to do in this town.
Last finance committee that I was in attendance, we had representatives from Upper Cape, the town representative, and then we had a principal of the. And what struck me when we asked if he communicated with the town was a response that when asked, he would do that. And I'm not feeling that we're getting the kind of communications that I would like to see occur. and I realize this may be well out of your scope, because I don't know how they're either appointed or elected, I don't know. But it would seem to me that we would be better off if we had people who were not necessarily technical school oriented, but as some of our own school committee members who are facing some of these budget issues and could very well be able to say to Upper Cape, you know, we're having problems with this, whether they're technical in their skill set or not, they're here to represent the town on that school committee. And part of that school committee seems to me to be part of our school committee. We're struggling real hard. They're in tune with our own local school.
I think they're elected, are they not?
They're elected.
They're elected, they are elected, so there's nothing you can do about that. And the thing is, the Upper Cape is that so long, you know, folks haven't, it hasn't been an issue. Now it's really screaming at us.
Well, I would like to see that the selectmen should take a look at this question, because long-term, what's being done for the town, I don't think is the correct thing. I applaud the Upper Cape School, don't get me wrong, I think what they do is wonderful, I'm in favor of tech school. I'm having problems with how our representatives are interfacing with the town.
Oh, I agree with you there. Yeah, don't
Is there, I don't like I don't know if there's any change that can be done, but it seems like our hands are tied because the other towns vote yes, we are forced to. Is that something that is a law, or is written by law? Is that some way of changing that to give us another voice, or that's just etched in stone?
It's part of the compact that went in.
From the beginning, then, you know?
Can either of you two ancient history folks back there tell us, how to change, if we can change that,
You know what I mean, we're kind of handcuffed.
Yeah, it's by state law. When you have,
Sure, come on down, sit down. Tell us.
Derek probably can answer it even better than I can, but by state law, under the municipal finance laws, when you have a school district made up of member communities, the communities get to vote on the budget, and if a majority of them accept that budget, then the minority that didn't accept it, their hands are tied because they do have, the budget passes. So it's like any other issue that would come up at town meeting, if it passes by a majority, then you're tied to whatever the majority rules. However, if a majority of the membership chooses not to vote in favor of that budget, then the budget gets sent back to that school committee and they need to rework that budget. Now, you may have to come back and have another town meeting to vote again on that budget, although there is a way, I believe, that if you write the motion for the article saying that you would allow a 10% increase and no more than that, or something to that effect, I'm not exactly sure. We're trying to study all that and learn all that. You can almost give them what they need to go back and work that budget, because you have passed that budget with a 10%
There's limitation.
to it. So you may not have to have that special town meeting. But to get to your question, if the majority, it's like any question, if the majority vote for it, the majority rules.
Has anyone ever put together a group or anything that all the towns could meet about that question? You know, because it is involved in a lot of towns, not a lot, but enough towns to where, is there a group that would ever meet and discuss that?
Well, tomorrow night they're doing a presentation, and I believe that all the towns are, invited.
And where is this?
And it's at Upper Cape.
It's at Upper Cape.
Yes, and I believe Mr. Heath's going, and I would like to go, if anybody else is interested.
Thanks, son. That's all I wanted.
And maybe this is where we get, we start really getting involved, but Claire, I'm gonna ask you later on, if you can just show me where, I mean, I'd like to find out how and where the
Oh, I can go out in my vehicle, I actually have the Mass Municipal Finance book, I think it's
in that
chapter 71 or section 16 or chapter 7, I go get it, show you.
That's okay, you don't have to do that right now.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
Not right now.
Well, no, if you're going tomorrow night, I'll give you this.
Please, yes, I am. All right. Okay. Oh, I got this. No. Okay.
We're a
Marilyn-
third of the
Marilyn
students.
has a-
That was my question. I knew the meeting was scheduled for tomorrow night, and I will try to be there, but
I'm gonna try to,
I
yeah.
may not
Okay.
be able to make it out, but
Okay.
I want to make sure that Wareham is
Fine.
represented.
What? I'm not going there. Okay. Any other additions or comments on that? Mr. Heath, do you have anything to say on that?
The regional school?
Yeah, I mean, before we move on,
Not at this time.
yeah. Okay. Good. I guess. Derek, did we ever, I have a question here about the enterprise fund. Where do we stand financially there? Do we have a better assessment of where we're at?
One of the things that Mr. Campina has done is hired somebody to come in to help him basically create new forms on there so he can track, instead of going through the Vadar system, he personally can track his expenditures and such on there, so he's not waiting, for invoices going out and such. That will help him keeping track. The revenues on that's a bi-yearly thing, so, that's really when you'd want to take a look at it. Some of the other items they're doing, and this doesn't really answer your question, but just some of the updates I want you to know about. Mr. Campino also, as he's speaking about, is doing an EDU audit. So we have places that are 4 units that are paying 1 EDU, and nobody's ever updated or looked into it. My vision of that is, I understand it's probably a nice thing for the owners, but it's stealing from the rest of the people on there that have to pay to make up that difference. So, when you ask, how are they doing, we know after the end of the last fiscal year, they had certified over $3 million in the retained earnings. I don't think that's the truest form of evaluation of it, because you're going to have people that are prepaying on their betterments. We have somebody this week that they've combined some unbuildable lots and created one lot that is buildable, and they'll have to pay a $18,000 betterment immediately. Those are some of the items that are going to come up on there. There's the capital of that is probably the greatest concern on there. It's really what needs to be completely evaluated, and I think going forward, there needs to be a reserve for those items on there beyond any retained earnings and such.
Yes.
Derek, is there, through you, Madam Chair, you had mentioned that there's some places that aren't paying, the proper amount. Is there a way in the town that can be tracked? I know some, is there someone on that? Because that seems like an awful lot of money that could be slipping through our hands. Is it worth to have someone try to do that out of their office, or is that what's being initiated now?
Yes, it is, and they've actually got an intern working on it. The first phase is to actually list out every single property on there, make sure you have everything on the books, and then you're going to have to, physically on some of them, go out there or double check. I believe Mr. Campino was saying during the audit, they had literally, I don't know how to say this, but this is a weak way of saying it, but there's some forgotten properties that I don't think we're being charged an EDU that were on the system. Just somehow, when somebody put the cards in, they didn't mark the property back on there, but there was one that had been capped temporarily and was brought back on the system. So those are part of the things, is creating those efficiencies, because that's, that's just money out the window for no reason.
Correct.
David?
Some years ago, I asked if, when you're dealing with sewer, I had a rough order of magnitude of 98% of the people that have sewer also have town water. I mean, you have more town water, but if you have town water, 98% of the people that have town water that should have sewer. If you're following my drift, I'm putting it poorly, but the bottom line is, there would seem to be no way that you could correlate the names, addresses of people who were on town water. Then you could look at the streets, and then you could look at the street and see if the street was supposed to have sewage, and if the sewage had sewage, how many people were receiving town water, and to be able to make a comparison street to street. And I was told that was not doable. And my comment.
Well, the reason why I brought it up is I had a piece of property, one lot, 2 small houses. And I went to Ms. Campino and I talked about it, and I asked them what the difference was, why. Because I had a couple pieces of property like that. One was paying 1 EDU, had 2 houses, but yet the other property had 2 houses, was paying 2 EDUs. And I believe there's a bunch of those around. I mean, I straightened out that one myself, but, there are things like that out there.
And these are issues for the sewer commissioners. That's what they have to get their hands around. What we're trying to figure out is, do we have valid numbers here? And we don't have enough information with regard to the betterments, the retained earnings, and the capital, or the lack thereof. So that's the big picture. I think the operating stuff is coming together. I think the operating expenses, and I think they're on the right track to try to pull it all together on the day-to-day running of it, so they can come up with an EDU rate, chase down those users, but we still, I don't think we have a comfort level as to what that $3 million represents.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, anything further on?
Yeah, John Foster at one point had given us a very good run on the assessments for hooking up and people that had prepaid and not. He was able to break that out down to the last year and where we were and where we weren't in terms of under or over, in terms of paying off the notes.
That was in 2010, October of 2010. And I can remember that because I was an intern working for the town of Wareham. And that's what I sat and ruined my eyes over. So it was literally taking field cards and such and pulling them out. And we gave the assessing department at the end of it a spreadsheet that was, it's not the most beautiful thing, but a functional tracking for. However, that was not used and not updated. So
That's a shame.
Look how far
That's a
you
shame.
come since then.
yeah. This reminds me, can I reprimand them for that
Yeah.
now?
So I was going to ask, because I have a copy of that, that was great work, it was never taken the next step further, which was to keep updating it. At that point, I think we were pretty close, we had a comfort level that there was enough money in there to cover it, but that money needed to be segregated, accounted for separately, to hold it aside for the betterment retained earnings versus the.
Barring anything further on the enterprise fund? Get anything further on the budget here?
Not on the budget itself, but if I can, as part of the report, ask, we received 6 applications for the town accountant position. I would ask that a member, help review them and be part of the interviews if somebody is willing.
Is anyone interested?
Sam's the guy, right?
Well, no, we did, Sam.
I nominate Sam.
Is this something that's gonna be required daytime or evening?
We can, for the actual interviews and such, we can set it up to work around it. My wife doesn't care when I'm not home anymore. So.
She's an employee.
Yeah.
Well, I just want, I
Right.
you know, you know, like to appoint either Mr. McDonald or Mr. Heath based on their experience. Or Sam's in and out of, he's traveling so much. I don't want to get him into
Well,
it.
he failed.
What?
He failed.
Okay. He did fail, Charlie.
Sure, I'll do it.
You do it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Larry. Larry, I have one more question on this budget here, though. And my question is, where are the EMS revenues?
That actually, if you look in there on the very last page,
Yeah? The very last page.
yeah, you'll see the total offset receipts.
505,
Essentially, when we do this
yeah,
with the offset receipts, we're just projecting out their costs on there. We don't project out their revenues, even though it's roughly $1.1 million. That's not included in the annual budget on there. That's usually, if you see, the reason we had such a high number of, I'm going to call it retained earnings, but free cash this year was, that basically represented 2 years worth of the EMS revenues on there. That was worth about $600,000. But the DOR does not have us putting that as part of our local receipts, because at one point we didn't add those on there, and it's almost, it's tough to explain, but you can't really bring it back in there. And I have to be honest, that is a great buffer to have on there, especially considering you have a year such as this with the snow and ice.
okay, but what about, so they roughly were going in about 1.1 million, and we're feeling that their expense is gonna be about 853,000.
853 for just direct wages and expenses.
Are we using any money toward a new ambulance? Are we doing anything?
As part of the Walmart sewer project, they've dedicated $200,000 to an ambulance or public safety. However, those monies will not be received till there is an occupancy permit. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So we're gonna go status quo until then? No plans at all? Gee, that's,
Right.
yes.
So if we had 2 working ambulances, what would be the difference in the revenues?
That is a great question, which I've not been able to be provided, whether that would bring, I honestly assume that it would bring in more money. We only staff for 1 ambulance per shift. If we need to use the second one, we call in, whether it's EMTs and such on there. So we would, if you looked at it, if we started staff 2 ambulances, full shifts, our expenses would go up on there as well. I don't know, to tell you the truth,
Okay.
whether it would
No,
offset
that's fair.
itself.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Trudell?
Dave Evans in the past has said that when he has 2 ambulances, he's able to respond to other communities
Which is,
whose ambulance is committed, but it's more of a convenience in terms of
We still charge
being
them.
in support of the towns.
We can still charge it, the other towns, though, right?
Oh, he does, but
Yeah.
that's the point, is that 2 ambulances would enable some response and also would reduce the occasional times when they have to assist us when ours is.
okay.
Tom?
I realize it's not the time to do it, but at some point in the next 6 months, we ought to see what the gross revenues and gross expenses of this thing is, and find out whether, how much it's costing us or what it's,
For the ambulance?
yeah.
It's not costing us anything.
It's making
Sure
us-
it
It's
is.
making us money.
Making us money.
Oh, no, no.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, no, we haven't got rent in here, we haven't got the benefits in here. I don't think, I doubt if it's making money at all.
Oh,
I
it
bet it's
definitely
costing
makes
us
money.
money.
Oh, no, it makes money.
I,
Oh, yeah.
Well, then show me, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, he'd be happy to show you.
wait, let me,
That's a good point, the rent and the,
can I answer that?
Certainly.
I guess a while back, it was set up to be an enterprise fund, which would make you think that it was making money. But when the benefits and other employment costs came into play, they weren't making money.
Mhm.
Because you take a look at the benefits and how much they cost, all this insurance and whatnot, that has to be moved over in order for them to be properly judged. So I don't think.
I'm sure that Dave could provide you with what his assessment is
No doubt.
for his employees. I've seen his numbers in the past, and they make money. They
Well,
do.
I'm telling you, the reason they're no longer a enterprise fund is because they weren't making money when you take into account all the costs associated with running it.
They were a long time ago.
But they gotta buy a $200,000 ambulance, which they
Well,
can't
that
buy.
They
I mean,
haven't bought a
depreciate-
$200,000 ambulance. They've taken every profit they've made and turned it
Turn it
back
back
to
into
the
the
town.
town.
That's right.
Okay, without buying an
They're
ambulance.
still not making, if you take all the profit they're making and you take all the costs that are not showing on the sheet under their, then I don't know that they're making as much money as we think they're
We
making.
ought to know what it is.
But that's not to say they can't.
I'm
just
sure he
saying.
would be more than happy to show you that.
He's right on the ball, that guy.
Actually, Bonnie, that falls in our department.
I would be more than happy to meet with Dave.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you would.
Set it up and let me know, Bonnie.
Okay.
Okay. Anything further on the budget?
Yeah, I have one thing, that is, last year we established, the charter said that we needed, the previous year, the current year, the ensuing year, you give a shorter column. When we go to print, we don't want that column in here.
The previous year as well.
The
Yes,
previous year
yes.
has to be in here. All right, at times we've thrown the current year's budget, but that was not mandated by the charter, so it's convenient for us when we're trying to handle it.
That's just a
But I'd like to make
in
sure-
column right now.
Well, when we go to print the warrant, we're gonna want exactly what the charter says. We settled that last year.
So you don't want to go backwards.
No, I want to stay at status quo this time. I don't want any more new methods.
No extra handouts.
Exactly.
No.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions regarding the budget? Nothing further on you, Mr. Heath? Do you have nothing on the budget matters?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Not regarding this budget, but with regard to the end of 13. And I apologize if this had already been discussed before I came. I know we have 2 special elections that are going to take place before the end of this year. And I know you're trying to figure out how to pay for that. It was a question to me, is do we need to open all polling places? I don't need an answer now, but that was just, I was talking with another group in another town who's faced with the same issue. And they were talking about consolidating and less manpower and how they're going to squeeze it out of their budgets. So.
Well, I can tell you, we will be coming to the Finance Committee for a transfer to pay for the next 2 elections on that.
Good, then I can ask my question then. If I'm going to give you the money, I want to know how it's being spent.
Okay. All right,
I have one
yeah,
question,
yes.
and that is, the warrant, Article 6 is the budget, correct?
Correct.
And this budget was presented last night to the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
Did they vote on Article 6?
They voted on Article 6, favorable action.
They voted this budget favorable action? What was the vote?
They voted for Article 6 favorable action, but Article 6 did not have any numbers in it. So I
How do
really
you
don't
vote for
know.
something without any numbers in it? You don't have to answer the question. That was a rhetorical question. It was a rhetorical question, okay? Basically, they were aware of the budget as it now sits.
Yes, that.
And they approved the budget with no numbers. Okay. So, I guess my next question would be, you said it's $500,000 to $1 million to go. Have you received any guidance from the selectmen as required by the town charter? All right, as to what to do to make final numbers in here?
In the memo on there, I've requested guidance from the selectmen as well as the last night's meeting. The chair did request that I provide them with what I believe that the cut should be, is my understanding, and they will provide me the guidance on that.
That's for their approval and disapproval?
I can't be sure what.
That's back,
That sounds like micromanagement.
that's backwards.
That's backwards.
They,
Okay, that's fine. He answered my question. They've asked for basically amounts to be given to them, and then they would approve it.
Okay, well, let me follow that up, if you don't mind. I don't know how to follow. So basically, first off, they voted on the budget when we already know there's going to be a huge deficit. So that means the budget basically is incomplete at this point because you don't know where that money's gonna be coming out of. And you're going to put together a balanced budget. That means there's going to be cuts. So they voted basically saying, whatever. And Al voted favorable on the budget, correct?
There was a vote of favorable action, and if there was a vote on this budget, yes, technically it's a balanced budget, but that's, as I said, it's not a true because it does not have the school committee's voted numbers in there.
Well, first off, inevitably, if we vote no on the budget, we have a big problem. And that's the first thing. I mean, if we don't vote for the budget and people don't vote for the budget, we got a problem. But I just think it'd be easier, from my understanding, if we were voting on a budget at some point in time that's as complete as it's going to get, given the information. And so I don't think anybody should be voting on a budget until we have the final breakdown of how it's gonna come out.
Madam Chair, that's a question, that's a question for the selectmen, not for the town administrator.
No, I'm just, okay.
He was speaking rhetorically.
That's rhetorical.
Well, you were told about that. You asked the question.
Speaking out loud.
Mine was
I don't understand how you can vote without the numbers either. Okay,
I don't want to put it on the phone.
no, I don't either.
You already did that.
Okay.
No, but there's a point where
I know.
he doesn't need to commit suicide.
Somebody sustained, so I'm gonna give this.
How much would that cost us?
I'll give this
Very
sustained
little,
either benefit of the doubt.
All right,
Run.
I've lost my agenda. I misplaced it, Kelly.
Hey,
Okay.
But he cost $1,000 too.
What? Yeah, I know we got us $1,000, I know.
I would have complained, but,
Yeah, I know, I saw that $1,000.
Actually,
I would've complained, but-
budget.
definitely, I would have complained.
What's that?
Have we ever actually got close to spending our budget?
We've never had that.
How
I
about
would, you know-
Kelly? I mean, I bet it's Kelly at printing the warrant, I mean.
In all honesty, I would have complained, but it's small potatoes. Oh, I'm sorry.
There will be an additional $1,000 cut to the finance committee expense budget.
Board of Selectmen have already approved it, so we're okay.
Are
Great.
there any other fiscal matters? Anything go?
We'll be establishing interviews for, and I do consider this a fiscal matter, the inspectional services, the building commissioner. I still have not been able to chain Mr. Moore to the desk. He's going to leave us, will not stay with us, so,
He is such a good guy.
he's an excellent. He will not be part of the interviews, requested that he not be part of it. However, he has helped me with, narrowing down the field, and I believe that we've got about 4 or 5 excellent candidates, and it would probably be at this point the fit of this town. Some people with all the same candidates are a better fit personality-wise, or what they've done with certain towns. I think that's what's going to end up coming down to. Tomorrow we are interviewing for the assistant assessor data collector position. We have 5 people for that as well. We had a lot of applications, I believe 22 on that one. Again, the one that I think we hired down in the clerk's office for the departmental assistant, 62 applications. So the smallest one has been the town accountant position. I can't imagine why, but that's.
Okay.
I was gonna apply for the job in the health department, just so I could get my stuff out of there.
Okay,
Madam Chair, if I
Yes,
may, Article 21 in the warrant is for reorganization of the finance department and the trade collection department.
Frank, can you speak up, please?
Yes.
Not loud, come on.
Article 21 is for a reorganization plan for the finance department, accounting and treasurer, and collections department. All right, are you prepared to talk about that tonight, or do you want to talk about that at a later date?
I can give information on it tonight, that I think will be helpful. If there's additional questions after that and I need to formulate it better, I'm more than willing to do that. I think I gave just some information on a basic organizational chart a few weeks ago. But if we want to go over that now, I think
Yeah.
that'd be appropriate.
That would be fine, yes.
Good.
Anyone have any objections to that?
Well, I don't have an objection, but I always like it better when they have all the financial data and we're all looking at the data of how it's gonna be, you know, the dollar for dollar of what's, and it's better to have kind of a visual aid.
Okay, I can put
So I'm
some.
not
Yeah,
saying,
no,
if
that's-
we wanna talk
No,
about it, fine, but
no,
I'd like to have a visual aid
well-
and see what we're
Well,
looking at.
absolutely, but I wouldn't like to talk about that right now, which are,
We have a
Or we could
structural
schedule,
chart.
or we could schedule for when we have the rest of the parties in next week or something, but
it's up to you.
I can give the rough outline now, it's not I won't have the exact dollars. because I
Okay.
haven't
Okay.
written them out on there. You know, I think I'll be preaching to the choir on this committee when I state that there should be somebody overseeing the finances, not as a part-time, if you will, which is the town administrator, because town administrator is also with the human resources and with all the other functions. We need a strong candidate in there, someone who knows assessing, accounting, and collecting, and the treasurer's duties on there. We are going to save salary-wise to begin with, but that's really not the savings or the best of what this reorganization is going to do for the town. Simply look what we spent in audits over the last few years. And that's an essential lack of oversight and not being able to look over the accounting department and some of the other departments every day. Having a strong finance director, somebody that's part of the finance team, and having one person directly to the town administrator is something that will be greater efficiency and supervision for those departments.
Are you looking for a new position, or is this you're gonna create it amongst the departments that you have right now?
Amongst what we already have, it would be an upgrade. Technically, the town accountant position is the finance director by our personnel plan. We don't need a accountant finance director, and this is my view on there. We need somebody to put their nose to the grindstone, get their hands dirty, work in the books, know what to do, be part of the procurement, tell the departments when they're going over their budget or when they can't pay an item. But that person shouldn't be overseeing the other departments. There's too much work to be done just on the accounting level. So what the proposal is to have a town accountant on there. The assistant town accountant, we don't need that position because the other person in there right now, which it's not a true, I don't have the org chart in front of me, what her title is, but that position can be and has been taught more of what to do of the entry. It used to be just somebody that was doing some of the payroll and other functions. We've got somebody else in there. So I think with a strong finance director, somebody to make sure that the policies and procedures are being adhered to, the plan to close the town's books, the person that's got the calendar up there and says, yes, on this date, the assessing department should have this, the accounting department should have this, the treasurer collector's office should have that. You have somebody overseeing all that. And in the past, it has been the town administrator position on there. But when you have three different people speaking about their functions on that to one person to make those decisions, I can tell you it doesn't function well. And that's where we've had some of the lost, some of the things have slipped through the cracks. That's the verbose version of it.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
one of our difficulties in the past, but has been repaired multiple times, if you will, has been reconciliation between the treasurer and the accounting department on daily cash balance or weekly cash balance to make sure that the books are reflecting what the treasurer has. And the audits have shown that the treasurer basically has handle on what monies were where they were supposed to be, but our books didn't match. Then would I be remiss in thinking that part of what you're attempting to do here will resolve that problem permanently regarding the reconciliation of Vader and the treasurer's cash position?
That would be one of the main things on there as well. Monthly cash reconciliations on there. You know, having while I enjoy my talks with the DOR, I'm sure that it would be good to have that person involved as well.
If that wasn't one of the subjects, we'd be happy.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it's, you know, it's not to really lessen the duties of the town administrator. The town administrator is still, you know, ultimately that's what goes right and wrong there. It lies on the town administrator. What it is to have a better, clearer functions in there. And I think it's something that will benefit the town.
Okay. Yes.
One of my long-term concerns, Derek, has been the fact that we don't have a personnel board. And we put all the checks and balances we want in. But we get a new town administrator, and he decides that he wants to turn the ship around and go 180 degrees in the opposite direction. There's very little that seems to be to prevent them from dismantling the very checks and balances that you're putting in place. Do we have a long-term plan to have the selectmen and the town administrator be on the same sheet of music so some of these checks and balances can be dismantled?
This warrant article is a reorganization, so that would not simply be able to be undone. This is a big deal. It's a charter change on there. It's going to be, you know, you'll see throughout the charter where the powers and duties are. Those are things that are going to have to be changed. We're going to have public hearings and such. So I don't think that could be simply undone. Did I hope it was as simple as creating a new position, and in my folly of thinking things were easy?
Nothing is easy, you've learned that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could I throw a question to you? Unfortunately, Massachusetts legislature likes to put out terms like, this is the duties or responsibilities of the town accountant. All right, is there something we need to do to make sure that the financial director is covered under the umbrella with the Department of Revenue, et cetera? And are we making plans to do that so that we don't find ourselves down the road without a town accountant? Because people have their own titles.
All right, now that's, we're still, the essential duties on there are not going to change with the town accountant. And what we do is we use, if you look what I've sent out, the finance director position, you go to other towns. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're making sure that what we're doing is, you know, has been done before, and we will double check with the DOR to make sure that, you know, we're not causing harm when we're trying to do good.
I'm concerned about the proper wording because there's a difference between town accountant in lowercase and town accountant in uppercase legally. So I'm just saying, I hope we will consider that as we go through the process. So we don't make an accidental error and have it kicked back by, you know, the
Legislature.
clerk of the Senate. He says it's not proper.
All right. All right, so when are you going to get something visually to us? And
Yeah, the rough numbers are, this is an upgraded position, which according to where the pay scales are now, I think if I were given a cost value, it would be an increased cost of roughly $7,000. The reduction of the assistant town accountant position last night, it said was 32. I may have underestimated the cost, but I'll stay on that right now until I give the whole frame, and then we're roughly, the last town account, or the high end of the town account range we had was at $95,000. Since this is not a finance director position, you're probably looking at closer to 76, between 70, 73, $76,000. It is a essential, vital function, but we do not need to pay $20,000 extra, have them overseeing stuff. I'd rather have, for that price, somebody goes to the grindstone getting the stuff done.
All right. Let's, well, we've gone over the school department. Well, the next, the school department budget update, we don't have anything on that, right? Review and vote for the annual spring town meeting warrant articles.
Can I bring up one before we get started, just because I know Mr. Heath's gonna have an answer for me?
You just keep it short.
We have an article on here about a moratorium on medical marijuana, but I believe the state just came back with a ruling that said something to the effect we could not keep them out at this point because other towns were trying to do the moratorium, so they couldn't. You know what I'm, maybe.
It wasn't a moratorium, it was a ban.
No, it was a moratorium.
You cannot ban them, that they said that the
You can
moratorium
have a
is allowed.
moratorium, but not
So
a
we're
ban.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that was what I was gonna ask.
The AG's office allowed the moratoriums as being fine, but the bans, so,
And zoning is also.
That was what I was gonna ask, so we didn't have to go along.
Okay.
that's where we received some sound legal advice to do the moratorium instead of the ban on there, and it gives us some time that the state can actually give us guidelines and regulations,
Right.
which would be interesting considering they allowed something to pass without thinking about what's gonna happen to the towns.
I know that's really hard to believe in our state, but.
Okay. yeah.
The suggestion should be is anybody who is against that, we would give them a list of towns that doesn't have a moratorium and they can move to it.
Okay, so let's move on now.
Right, yes.
Is there some possible way that we could finish with the town administrator so he could, I know he doesn't want to hold the seat.
I don't think there's,
She doesn't
you
care.
don't have anything else with us, do you, Derek?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
If you were going through,
We're gonna go through the warrant next.
I just say I see it's a little shortened from the original draft.
which one's that?
I see the warrant has been shortened from the
Yeah.
draft.
That's nice.
Looks nicer, right? With the revolving funds in there, that's one of the things that we took out on there because we're paying to, not just pages on this, but in the print media to have something in there. Really, it's something that you annually see. You also see it in our budget document that's printed. It just started not making sense to me.
All right.
If you're doing the special, I didn't know if there was anything on there that you
I don't
wanted
think
to
so.
go
I
over.
I haven't seen this.
I haven't seen the special.
So that's perfect.
Well, do you have the special?
I actually don't have the copies, and it's not gonna close till next week.
Oh, okay, that's why we don't have it.
So,
That's
yeah, I
fine.
can tell you the essential, most of it is placeholders for union articles, for union negotiations. We don't have any resolved at this moment.
Okay.
And, I think one thing that was listed on here before, but that should always be on the special, was the transfer of the free cash to the health trust fund on there.
Okay. So that's gonna, okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to go. Do you want to go through these articles one by one? Do you want to vote on any of them tonight, or do you want to, what?
Did we answer the question?
Is there a-
No, I told him, he's all set.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Appreciate it.
Do you want to sign them as we go through? Just
Shall we?
say Frank all the way
Is that which
down.
one? Do we want to, yeah, didn't we vote on these, oh, no, we didn't. We just
It was
went
a
through
Saturday morning that the
Yeah.
selectmen voted.
Right.
We didn't vote on anything.
Do you want to, is the best way to proceed, go through and vote on them and then assign them?
Let's talk to Mr., how'd we do it last year? Wrong or?
All right, we have them right now. The thing is, you have a number of articles on there that are housekeeping articles.
Right.
All right, so the question is, do you want to get them out of the way tonight before you start having people in the room for long discussions
Exactly.
on, various petition articles and other items with dollars and stuff. And there's ones in there that we can very easily tonight,
Let's do it.
the one for signing all contracts, we can vote on that tonight. No problem.
Right. And those, I mean, Kelly's got the old stuff from those, that it's just a matter of click and paste, not a big deal. They don't need to be assigned in any way, so go home.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
She's already provided us with
Yeah, no.
Wait, where's that at?
the Indian's packet.
Oh, I gotta read my packet.
Upper and sixth grade, that's all they said.
Okay. Was it in my packet?
Should be, everybody.
No, it wasn't. It was.
I got one.
We're looking at this one, Marilyn.
I got one.
I got it.
Yeah, that's it.
So you can just look at it.
Yeah.
Let's rock it.
Okay. I don't see anything.
I got it right here.
Well, I know you, hold on a second, I might have some, Linda here. She's just helping me with your,
I think I just saw it.
I got it right here, thank you. All right. Okay. Mr. Clerk, you want to read through these?
Do you want me to read the article, or, yeah, let's just give a basic understanding of
Let's
the
start
article.
at number one. Alan?
Article 1, to choose the following officers, 2 selectmen for the term of 3 years, 1 selectman for the term of 1 year, 1 assessor for the term of 3 years. Do I have to read the whole thing?
You can all read it.
Okay, well, that's pretty much the gist of that article.
Is there anything different on this?
No,
Is
it's
there-
just-
is there-
No, it's just the
okay,
election.
so
It's
those
for
two
the
things.
people that are up for election.
Okay, so if you why don't we do, I'd entertain a motion?
I'll move favorable action on Article 1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? It's unanimous?
6, 7, 8. 8, 0.
8-0.
Why don't we just have Bonnie do the motions and Marilyn do the seconds, and then we'll just won't have to
Here we go.
work that hard here. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to authorize the board of selectmen and/or town administrator to apply for, accept, and enter into contracts from time to time for the expenditure of any funds allotted or otherwise available to Wareham by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or the U.S. government under any state or federal program and activity, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It is unanimous?
Article 3, to see if the town will authorize the town treasurer collector to enter into compensating balance agreements for the fiscal year 2014 pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53F of the general laws, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Going smooth so far.
Unanimous?
To act upon the reports of the Selectmen, School Committee, Dog Bylaw Study Committee, and the Capital Planning Committee, and upon any other reports from officers and committees who consider it expedient to do so, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 4.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Thank you.
Okay. Discussion?
What does this mean,
Yeah, really.
to act? Who's acting?
Yes.
What is this? And maybe we could, through you, Madam Chair, to the town moderator, ask for an explanation on this
To
article?
accept their reports.
No, it says
No,
to
it's
act
just to
upon.
act
It
upon.
says to act, it actually should say to hear,
To hear,
to
thank
hear, so
you.
the motion probably will be corrected to say.
Okay, so that is to hear, or to
You're correct.
accept,
And-
okay.
And thank you for picking up on that, because that definitely has to be corrected, because other than that, anything that they would mention in their report that requires any kind of an act, you voted to act on it.
Thank you.
So
Way
we
to
need to
go,
make very
Marilyn.
sure the
There you go.
motion says here,
So how should it be worded, please?
To hear?
to hear the
Reports.
reports.
So,
I move to table Article 4.
second.
Table.
All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Article 5, to see if the town will vote pursuant to General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, to set the compensation of elected officials, and further to set the compensation of certain appointed officials, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
We don't actually have those numbers yet, but we'll, I'll move favorable action on Article 5.
Second.
Any discussion? No?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Since I'm not familiar with the law in the chapter, it says to set the compensation of elected officials and further set the compensation of certain appointed officials. Does this mean that the selectmen then would be able to set their own wages? If
No.
they chose to have wage, right now, it's not, there's
It's,
no wages. for it.
it's to see if the town, I'm sorry.
No, it's for us to vote, but every year this article turns into a giant free-for-all mudslinging contest with we should pay our selectmen, and then whatever. But I generally look at this as it's to pay our town moderator. I don't think we even pay our assistant town moderator, but we might. But I don't know of any other appointed of.
The clerk.
The town
the
clerk.
Town clerk is the elected official.
Register our voters.
Right, we don't have the numbers for either one
Right.
of those, so we should really table. it
Table
till we
5
have
as well. All right.
Move that we table Article 5.
All those,
So
no.
what do you say, registry of voters?
All those in favor of tabling Article 5?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Article 6 we can't talk about because we don't have any numbers.
I can't remember.
We can talk about till we're blue in the face, but I mean, it doesn't make any sense until we have some final numbers. Why would we want to vote on it?
Well,
Well, the selectmen did.
The
the
selectmen.
selectmen voted on it
Selectmen
with
voted
no
on it, why
numbers.
don't we just?
Again, that's rhetorical. Let's just go on. Can we?
No, no.
All right.
Right.
Fine,
Go ahead.
to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and transfer the appropriate funds to defray charges and expenses of the town, including debt and interest, and to provide for the reserve fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013 and ending July 30th, 2014, and as more particularly described in the report that is not on this page at this point of the Wareham Finance Committee, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. Want to make a motion?
I move we reject Article 6.
Okay.
Second.
For discussion.
You can always reconsider later on, but right now, I don't think there's any way that they can come in with a favorable vote, and we can come in with even a favorable or unfavorable.
Well,
I'm sorry, I didn't make a point of it. There's no policies, there's nothing. We heard that they were $500,000 to $1 million short. There was no policy statements made, no guidance given to the town administrator. And I think if we can make a point with, the Upper Cape Regional School, I think it's time we made a point with the Board of Selectmen. Reject it. Don't unfavorable it, reject it.
Mr. McDonald.
I would not concur. I think at this point, we need to table this article because we don't have the final numbers. I don't care what the selectmen do. This is our job and our duty to take a look at this budget when it's finalized. We obviously know that there's never going to be a time that, look, they were voting on articles on Saturday, we were doing stuff, and then
A draft.
regardless of what they're doing, our job is to advise the town. And at this point, I don't want to reject this budget because Derek's working hard on it to get it into place. So I would prefer to table this until we have a number or final budget in front of us.
Go ahead, Dave.
I favor rejecting it because I favor sending a message. We're gonna have to act on it before town meeting. But at this point, if we say reject, we're not just sending a table message, we're sending a very strong message to the town administrator, to the selectmen, and to the town, that we're unhappy with the way things are going. It's merely a message at this point, Larry, because we know this is gonna come back to us. We're going to have to act before town meeting. But let's send right at the flagpole.
If this committee wouldn't mind, I think Madam Moderator had a comment to make on this.
Yeah, I just-
Does the committee,
Just to make a comment that if you
is
actually.
it okay with the committee?
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry. If you actually read the article, you read the last two sentences, and is more particularly described in the report of the Wareham Finance committee. So
You're rejecting
you
yourself.
really would not be taking your vote until you have your warrant numbers of what's going in your warrant. That warrant that your committee prints is the report of the finance committee, so that's what you're actually taking a vote on, is those numbers that go into that last document. Does that make any more sense?
No.
Not to me, no.
No?
So,
If you read the article, it says, and as more particularly
Mhm,
described in the report of the Wareham Finance Committee.
mhm.
The warrant that is handed, well, and we probably shouldn't use the term warrant. The
Finance
report,
committee report.
the Finance Committee report that's handed out at town meeting, the numbers that go in there, that's what you're voting on in this article. So you're not voting on any budget that's coming before you until you got those final numbers that go in that report.
Yeah, I have a problem with it. Go ahead, Glenn.
I understand we want to send I understand we need to send a message at some point in time, but really, at this point, we're still in the process. The school committee hasn't even got their final numbers yet. Maybe our selectmen will wake up and decide to give some input. At this point, the message we're sending is to who? I mean, we're sending the selectmen a message, we're advising the town, and I don't want to advise the town until we have something in front of us to look at before we start advising people to reject something. I think that's, I'm all for, being, what is it?
Correct.
I want to do the right thing here because I want people to understand if we reject something, then, or we vote it down, or whatever you want to do at that point. I'm good with that once we look at the numbers, but before that, our job is not to worry about whether or not the selectmen do their job. Well, it is to a certain degree, but overall, look, people are gonna look to us for the answers on the numbers, not to them.
Marilyn, you got a question? Before
Frank's gonna eat me alive in a minute, but.
Did you have,
I don't need anybody alive.
go ahead, Mr.
I'm
Heath.
sure I've been on 2 ad hoc committees over the last 2 years, and I'm getting tired of going into town meeting with only 5 minutes left. All right, and the numbers that are in the town warrant aren't even what's finally voted on. It's not the warrant, it's what's in the report of the finance committee. Because the whole thing drags on right down to the last day of the meeting itself, even though we've actually printed our report. So I didn't understand the wording of this when I saw it in the first place, Madam Moderator. This is the first time I think I've seen it say, the finance committee's report. All right, the other side of this is it's like everything has been, it hasn't been transparent enough over the last 2 years. That's how we got the healthcare fund rated, all right, that's how we got into the financial situation we've gotten into this last year. And how we also wound up in a situation where we had the school asking for capital out money, right, that should have been asked for by the town, at least 2 items. All right, and also they asked for an override rather than the board of selectmen. And all they were trying to do was to make up the town's budget. All right, so I'm sorry, I think that the selectmen should have been involved 2 years ago, never mind this time. And this is we're just repeating history here. We're gonna go into the town meeting again, everybody's shrugging their shoulders, and as the Department of Revenue said to me, what the hell was the finance committee?
Yes, they did.
Larry, we're if I may, Madam
Yes,
Mayor, I'm
go
sorry,
ahead, Mr. Joe.
I apologize.
That's fine.
I'm looking at the schedule here for important dates. And April 4th, last day of FinCom submit article recommendation. We're less than a month from warrant going to the printer, April 5th.
3 weeks.
Now, 3 weeks. The town administrator is saying, to Marilyn's point, it's a reverse process of what it should be. They should be telling him so he can make the adjustments in his budget, and the process is flawed. You got 3 weeks. If the selectmen can't realize that the process is flawed, why do you want to contribute to continue on? 3 weeks is what we have left. That's not a lot of time. I just believe this flag has supposed to pull strength. I agree.
Anything new on the, well, hold on, Marilyn hasn't spoken, Tom hasn't.
What are the repercussions really, what is the reality of rejecting this budget? We have to reject this budget, whether we do so in a formal vote or not, because this is not the real budget. This is not the budget that's going to be presented in the town meeting floor. I think we all understand that. That's not real numbers. We have to walk into town meeting with a balanced budget that we feel we can live with. How do we get, to David's point, from here to there? And I'm rather less concerned, sorry Kelly, about what's required for our votes or our explanations. I'm rather more concerned that we get the job done properly, satisfactorily. So, that being said, if we make this vote now, how does anybody know or anybody care, frankly? Really?
Well, first off, we are now televised all the time. People are seeing what's going on. All right, and you're raising the issue here. The other side is if this continues on and goes through the town meeting, there's no reason why what you're looking at right now couldn't make it to the town meeting floor. Any given number that's on there. All right, basically what we're looking at again is inaction until the very last minute. Okay, and that's what's gone on the last 2 years, and it's caused significant problems. One of the problems we're going to hear about in the special town meeting warrant when it comes in. Guess what? We have no free cash. 1.2 million of that free cash has to go back and pay back the health care. The wonderful health care holiday was one-time money that was going to save us. Okay? I'm sorry, but I don't think we're doing anyone any service by delaying this, right? And nothing else, delaying this discussion with the Board of Selectmen, if you want to call it a confrontation. Somewhere along the line, we have to say, wait a minute, this cannot wait until 5 minutes before, and we have a reconsideration vote when the FinCom walks in and says, well, we might have voted this 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago when we saw the first set of numbers, but based on what we've heard in the last 5 minutes, which says all deals that we thought we had are off, I guess we're going with whatever's sitting in front of you now that's been handed out on the way in. I'm sorry, that's embarrassing.
It is.
I agree, and I've been
embarrassing, but that's what we're
we
going.
used to refer to as the deer in the headlights.
We're on the same road. We're on the same road.
Tom, you had a question?
Well, I'm bothered by this because I read this as just mechanics. And the budget we're talking about is a report described in the report of the Finance Committee, which is as yet to be defined. But this is the mechanics is that the town will raise and appropriate and transfer money based on this report that is yet to be defined.
But it's, at the moment,
It's
defined
not
as this. That's, at the moment, that's how it's defined.
May I again, please?
Yeah,
This problem has existed for 3 years. We bought time for 2 years and no one did anything. Now we're going to solve it in 3 weeks.
okay.
Are we proposing our own budget? Are we going to amend whatever they bring to the floor if we disagree with it? This is a big change for this committee.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll make it quick. The reason I think we should table it, a couple reasons. One is Derek, and again, this could be, I don't care who wants to interpret the charter, but the town administrator has now asked for guidance. Now, I don't know if he's gonna get guidance. He doesn't know he's gonna get guidance. But we have a little bit of time, and maybe it's a week, and next week when we get together, if there hasn't been any guidance or there any understanding, at some point in time, maybe we do reject it. But right now, we're saying, you know what? We're not gonna wait for the war, we're gonna lob a cannonball right at you. And I don't wanna do that at this point, because eventually we're gonna have to if they don't do what they're supposed to do in our eyes, but that doesn't mean that everybody agrees with that. But my point is, let's just table this and go on, and then next week, if we don't like it,
Melissa, you have something new to add to this conversation?
To his point about asking for guidance, I'd just like to add that I had asked Derek when we first started the budget process back in December, had he received guidance. At that point, he told me no, he had not, whereupon I sent an email myself, which I apologize that it didn't go through the proper channels, but as I said, I'm dealing with this budget book, I'm trying to work my way through it. Can I know what your thoughts are, so as I'm making my decisions, I know what guidance has been given or offered. There has been none.
3:13.
He's asked for it, but this is a desperate cry at this point.
Okay, but
We
it
have
is a
asked several
cry.
times. There's been no guidance.
I have something new, and the news is last night, this was brought up, all right, and the guidance that was given to him was to bring a list of his proposed cuts.
This
all
is
right,
his
and
budget.
and they would discuss with him what the priorities would be at that point. That's micromanagement. There's no other way to put it.
You're absolutely
Well,
right.
That's
damned if you do,
micromanagement.
damned if you don't. You want them to give guidance, but when they ask them to come with the proposed cuts, they don't have to say, you can't do that, you can't do that. They could say, you know what? These cuts make sense, but let's look at, there has to be a discussion before we judge this thing. I'm sorry, I'm not, I have nothing else to add. I will not vote to reject
Bonnie, you
this
haven't had
budget.
anything to say yet?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Bonnie.
I agree with Frank halfway, and then I disagree that it's 2 years. It's been 5 years. This happens every year,
Every day.
I
okay?
can only speak for how long.
I know that.
But I was in the thick of it, remember, I was
I know,
on a
and you were-
daily
you
basis
were
for
right,
2
yeah.
years.
I agree with you that a message needs to be sent at this point as to, everybody's waiting around for that proverbial rabbit to pop out of the hat and fix it all, and it's just not gonna happen. The fact is, this budget doesn't have the correct school committee numbers in it. It's not a real budget in any way, shape, or form. And it's not going to change from now into the next 3 weeks either. They're gonna be able to adjust things, possibly. But I feel like the situation with the Board of Selectmen in guidance to the town administrator, they're the ones who are elected to run this town. And when the citizens of this town give their opinions to the selectmen of, we'd like to see our money go here, or we'd like to see these improvements, or whatever, those are the things they should be reiterating to the town administrator, and they're not doing that. They just expect him, and this has been just history right along, they expect him to figure out, you know, where to cut, what to do with it, and then when it goes wrong, the TA gets blamed for it. So, without proper guidance, I don't see where we're going. This budget right now, the way it is here, is a no for me. Absolutely, positively a no.
Dominic, you had something to say?
I say, let them know loud and clear. That's how I feel.
Mr. Trudeau?
Make the statement.
I have a question for the chair.
For the chair.
For the chair.
Okay.
Seems to me that on the night of a town meeting, we were in the library trying to juggle numbers based on either an agreement that morning or an agreement that night. And we went into town meeting, and even what we were voting on wasn't what was being presented. Now, I don't mind being up for the Salem witch trials, strapped to a seat, being dumped in and out of a lake, see how long it takes me to drown. But I do not intend to go into town meeting
Me neither.
with the same kind of situation again, because that is criminal. Yes, we have a duty to put together a budget if we want to deal with the town. Well, the town administrator is running the line. About 3 weeks before it's a come to Jesus time. And I'm just asking you, that night, how did you feel?
Oh, I was hot. Hot as a tomato. I was hot.
Did you enjoy the experience?
No, I did not.
Thank you.
How about not, let's just look last year, how about every single year?
Exactly. You're absolutely.
Not just last year, the year before it happened, and the year before it happened, and the year before it happened.
No, you're absolutely,
We're doing that 10 minutes before.
you're absolutely right.
Wrong,
Okay,
wrong.
unless we have anything new to add to this conversation, I am going to give you one last shot, Mr. McDonald.
Just give me one last shot. Everybody else seems to have a few shots, so let me get a couple of them. If we don't have something something at least that we can go with in 2 weeks, because we have 3 weeks left before it has to be spent. If we don't have something in 2 weeks, I'll lead the charge. But I'm not gonna lead the charge now when it's not just, at this point in time, I think rejecting the budget sends an overall message to the process that, okay, we're gonna go to war. Well, I don't wanna go to war. I want to see if we can work with the selectmen. Maybe we need to write a letter or something, but let's not reject it at this point. Not from Maryland, no offense, Maryland, but from this committee. But you know what, whatever. I'm not leading the charge now, but in 2 weeks, if they don't have anything concrete that we can look at, I'll lead the charge. I don't care.
From the time from now till the date, the time is
Our representative liaison would like to speak.
Last night's meeting, we didn't get to the town administrator's report. it had been discussed ahead of time with them that you would bring up the issue on the budget, which I read into the record last night, which I'll read again. Even after those reductions, my best estimate was from town administrator that we would have a large deficit of close to $1 million. The low end estimate is $500,000. This means we are faced with further funding cuts. I am requesting the board provide its funding priorities for the 2014 budget this year. Help make sure the board's strategic vision is represented in the budget. After I read that off, I made a basically a statement that at our next meeting, since we were out of time, it was 10:30, we weren't going to get to it, that our next meeting we would be discussing what we propose to advise the town administrator. We want to, like, if you want, I can give you what my recommendations would be. It's not official yet because it hasn't gone there, but that was there. The chairman went off on a different direction, just making comments, but it's not what was actually discussed as far as what we're going to do. So if you want to go ahead, you can go ahead. If you want to wait a week, you can wait a week. But to say that at this point in time, they want, the town administrator will not have guidance from the board of selectmen, I think is wrong.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's taken 6 months to get to that point, which I will take responsibility for.
Madam Chair, we're being asked to sit here and wait and waste another week. And at that point, they'll finally give us some directions, and then he's got like 7 days to get stuff together to get to our next meeting in hopes that we might have a budget. Part of the reason I brought up this up tonight is it needs to be dealt with immediately. Not next week, the week after, or the following week. We are in a crisis mode. If nothing else, let me also remind you that there's people's occupations that are involved in this. There are teachers involved in it. There are classrooms involved in it. We heard some stuff the other day at the meeting with the IG as far as procurement, et cetera. There are some things there that we heard that are going to impact things going forward. This constant procrastination is going to run us to April 22nd, and in a situation of who knows what that budget's going to look like, and who knows what's going to be cut. How can you sit here 3 weeks from the deadline now, right, and not know what action you're even contemplating? The school committee appears to be lost.
So
We
we're
don't
gonna
have a
save the
busing plan
town?
for the kids.
By rejecting the budget, we're gonna save the town.
No, we're gonna send them a message that says, you know what, loud and clear to everybody that wants to watch and hear, all right, that yes, we think that they have not lived up to their responsibilities and duties, and they need to take them up immediately.
And then what do?
Well,
We
it's
go
not up
out.
to us at that point, it's for the electorate, isn't it? But if we're gonna sit there and rubber stamp again, okay, we're gonna
Not
let it
rubber
go, we're
stamping
gonna sit
anything.
there,
I
we're gonna
say
let
table it
it,
and
we're gonna
give them
let
a
it hang
chance.
out there until the last minute.
Let's just
Madam
vote.
Chair, we have a motion made
Yes, we
and
do.
seconded.
Yeah.
We need to either vote it up or vote it down.
I
I
agree.
think we killed the discussion. With your
I-
permission.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to reject the articles number 6. It's been, the motion's been made and it's been seconded. All those in favor of rejecting Article 6 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Tom, no. All those abstain? No.
By the way, I want to say that's unfair for you to abstain because you have all the information in front of you. You have no reason not to
Don't
vote
bring
yes
that,
or no.
no, stop,
That's not right. May I respond?
stop, don't chastise anybody,
Yeah,
stop.
no, because the information I need to read is the charter and our responsibility, because we're rejecting the report of the Wareham Finance Committee. I'm very comfortable rejecting this budget as it was presented to
I am
us
too.
tonight, but I do not understand how it fits together with the report of the Wareham Finance Committee, if that's
Okay,
our
I
responsibility.
apologize.
So that is the grounds of my abstention, but I will
apologize.
I will
Sorry, I
say
can't
loudly and
pronounce. What was
clearly
that vote?
that I'm happy
5-1.
Five to
that-
one.
that I'm happy to
We're
reject the
rejecting
budget.
the article as written, and it has never been presented as the report of the Finance Committee. It's never been presented that way. This is new wording, I don't even know where it came from.
I think that was a way for them for people to understand, because there've been several budgets printed in advance and things like that.
Because whatever was in the report was what was finally voted on.
Yeah, no.
I should have just, I apologize. I should have just asked why you were abstaining.
Somebody was trying to be helpful there.
That's all
Frank.
right. All right, and based on the clarification, I will change my vote to reject it, because if we as a committee don't have that report to give, then I'm not going to vote favorable for it, so.
6-2 now. 6-2, okay, and no abstentions. Okay. All right. Article number 7, Mr. Clerk.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer the available funds of sum of money as its share of the operating and capital costs of the Upper Cape Cod Regional Vocational Technical High School District for the fiscal year July 1st, 2013 through July 30th, 2014, or do or act in any manner relative thereto.
Before I do that, I have a question. If I understood Derek correctly, the financial number will be level funded from last year? Is that what we are voting on?
No.
Could we get a motion made, seconded, and then have the conversation?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Well,
No, I'm not trying to be nasty, Bonnie.
do we have to actually, excuse me,
That's the problem.
do we have to vote on it if we don't have all the information? Because that's what my concern is, if we start making motions,
Can
then.
I have a motion to possibly table it till next week? I mean, until we know what the numbers, I mean, we know what the numbers are pretty much, but I mean, there's a meeting tomorrow night. I mean, does anybody want to consider doing that, or do you,
You're right.
whatever you,
We already told us,
The question is
19.2%
basically,
increase.
since we're going to have the discussion before we have a motion, it seems to me it's really an irrelevant thing, because
19.2%.
we either lose the vote with the other towns and we pay the assessment, or they have to go back and do a budget, and then the town moderator is saying at some point, she's trying to figure out how to put some wording in to that, so that in the event that the other town rejected it, there would be some money. So either way we approach this, we are going to pay the Upper Cape assessment. So to me, this is a standard housekeeping article that we have, we can have our problems, but no matter what we do, we are going to pay.
Unless the other towns agree not to.
Well, but then, we're still gonna pay anyways, Dominic, even if they lower the budget, they change it, we're still going to pay at some point.
Okay.
okay, Mr. McDonald?
I think we should at least have the courtesy of allowing them to come in, which they will, and sit down and talk to us about their budget before we vote on it. I just think that's, have we made the motion yet?
No, we have not.
I'd make a motion to table this Article 7 until such time as we hear from them.
I could second that.
All those in favor of tabling this article?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous.
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money from the Water Pollution Control Enterprise Fund, salary, wages, expenditures, including debt, in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 53F, and one and a half of Massachusetts General Laws to defray the operating and capital expenses of the Water Pollution Control Enterprise Fund for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, and ending June 30th, 2014, or do or act in any manner relative thereto.
It's basically a housekeeping article, isn't it? Kelly? You know what she did? So again, we don't know how much or anything?
Nope.
Do you,
Because we don't have the budget, right?
yeah, I mean, we don't have a number here.
We got a number right here that they gave us, is that it?
That would be his number, the number he's working with, yeah.
There's your number.
Okay. Motion, we've got a motion on the table, and a second?
I move favorable action on Article 8.
Second, is there a second? All those in favor, favorable action on Article 8?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Okay, 8.
Yeah, I just want to see if it's the same.
Okay. Article 9, Mr. Clerk.
To see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money to the Emergency Medical Services Salary and Wages Account, the Emergency Medical Services General Account, Expense Account, still further to authorize a sum of money, estimated receipts from the Emergency Medical Services to be used to offset said appropriations in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E, or do so, or do or act in any manner relative thereto.
Move favorable action on Article 9.
Second.
All those in favor, discussion, I'm sorry.
Question if I might, Madam Chair. I
Yes.
can see where we're putting money into the emergency medical salaries and wages, but then it says still further, to authorize the sum of money and estimated receipts of the emergency medical services to be used to offset said appropriation, or to do and act in any manner relative thereto.
That's not what he explained earlier tonight.
No, he said basically that was to offset the expenses, the receipts that they were
Yeah.
bringing, we're gonna offset the expenses.
Right.
That's
They've got
basically, and anything extra they turn over to the town.
Right.
An offset account.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sure that I'm clearly understanding this.
Yeah, that's why it says offset.
Okay.
So there's an offset.
That's like a difference by there being a revolving account and
Yes,
an offset
revolving is
account.
different. Revolving can only spend what you collect.
Right.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It is unanimous, 800.
To see if the town, Article 10, to see if the town will vote to transfer $50,000 from the receipts reserved for appropriation account to the general fund operating budget to defray the cost of harbor master seasonal personnel or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. We did have Gary in for that, did we, on
Yes.
Saturday, so.
Move favorable action on Article 10.
Second.
Any discussion?
What was, if I might, Madam Chair, what was Gary's take on this? You know, over the years, in the last few years, we've been tapping this account.
Interesting. And this may be something, I had asked him the question, I said, how is that account? We may need to get him back in here and talk to him, because I think there was some concern, because there's also tapping this account for something else.
Different account.
Well, he
It is
seemed
a different
to
account.
have a little bit of concern, so my point is, I'm not ready to vote on this, but I think we should have him in to talk to us.
Go
Suggestion,
ahead.
Madam Chair, rather than formally, because we're all aware of the crunch of time to get this done, is
Yes.
this something that can be done with a visit and a question rather than having him in before the whole board?
That's fine with me.
If that's,
Well, this is with two different things. This was, because I specifically said there an answer.
Yes.
This is the harbor service permits, okay? Not the waterways account.
I
Two
understand that.
different things. And he's been using this particular money, which is from your permits, your mooring permits, et cetera, for his seasonal personnel for a couple of
Yeah,
years
so
now.
it's
And
something.
he put this in here.
Yes,
but do
he
we
did.
have,
Okay.
Okay,
but do we have the right account name in here is my
Yes,
question.
Yes, we do.
I specifically asked him on Saturday, is this the permit fees? And he said
But it
yes.
says, receipts reserved for appropriations, okay. So
Yes.
it's not actually the name, it's
No.
lowercase, not uppercase, so it's
Yeah.
all right.
okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
may I make a suggestion that I sit and talk with the harbor master dealing with Article 10, 11, and 12?
I think he was very clear when he was in here, was he not?
I got no problem. I perfectly
You know, and
understand.
this is his article, I mean, to me.
I agree with you in
with
theory,
the crunch in time.
but we've been caught short before by having not the correct verbiage in here, and although we all have the same understanding, that I agree with Bonnie, that he did that, and he wrote that, I want to make sure it got translated here appropriately.
There's a motion on the table, and it's seconded for favorable action on this article. We can vote it up, we'll vote it down, whatever. But I'm gonna entertain a vote on article number 10. All those in favor of article number 10?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All abstain?
I want to abstain.
You want to abstain?
I do. I don't have all that information for the.
All right, what is?
611.
611. Article number 11, Mr.
To see if the town will vote pursuant to Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half of Massachusetts General Law to authorize the use of a revolving fund for the purpose of shellfish propagation programs and enhancement of shellfish resources within the town. which fund shall be credited with the receipts from all commercial shellfish permit fees and 20% of the fees derived from the issuance of recreational shellfish permits under the authority and direction of the shellfish constable and town administrator. Such expenditures not to exceed $30,000, and further that the unencumbered balance as of the close of fiscal year 2013 in the existing shellfish revolving account be transferred to the revolving fund established for fiscal year 2014, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 11.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Trudell?
Question. Says all the commercial shellfish permit fees and 20% of shellfish recreational. But such expenditures not to exceed $30,000. Now, if I'm reading this correctly, any money in excess of $30,000 then goes into a revolving fund for out years. Am I reading this correctly? Now, if it's a revolving fund, can the town reach in at some point
No.
and touch these funds? So in essence,
Not without actually a town meeting.
okay, so in essence, if you build an excess into this, I'm having problems
Revolver's
because,
capped as well. Revolver is capped
It is.
at 50,000. I believe.
but if
It's
you're putting a word in
20,000.
there that's not to exceed $30,000 worth of expenses a year, and if he has more income than 30,000, and I don't know what the income level is, even if he has more than that in the out years, the fund would continue to grow because he's capped his expenditures at $30,000.
But that's this year.
Just this year only?
That's what this one
That's
is
what it
for
says for this year.
It's
For the year
oyster, it's already
14.
closed to oyster beds.
Close of fiscal
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I read across.
Yeah, I see 20,000 too.
it's capped at 20.
Yep.
That's his cap, that's why you can have one.
But the only way to take money out of revolving fund is through an article, warrant article, correct? Madam Chair? The only way to take money out of a revolving fund is through an article.
Yes,
Oh, for other purposes.
For other purposes,
other
otherwise
than
it
what
just,
it's supposed, it's designated for, yes.
Okay.
So we're saying that in the out years, he could exceed 30,000 a year.
But we don't have to address it with this article. We're just limiting him to 30 for this year. This is a housekeeping article that goes every year. The amounts can change.
Tell me the housekeeping article.
Yeah, this is usually on there.
Guess I'll have to rubber stamp it, despite of concerns.
All right, doubting Thomas over here. Okay, we have a motion and it's seconded. All those in favor of Article number 11?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstention? It is unanimous.
Article 12, to see if the town will transfer the sum of $18,500 from the waterways account to the harbor master's maintenance and improvement account, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I can't even, I will make the motion, but this is it. I'll motion favorable action on this article.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
Thank you very much. Can I discuss now?
Go ahead, Bonnie.
I think this should go right down the tube because it's non-specific. And what we were told at the Saturday for discussion event was that they would like $18,500 to buy a kiosk. And I just personally feel like there are too many other things going on with this whole kiosk issue. And maybe I'm just tired of everybody studying it and doing all these things. They're like, okay, let's get proactive about it. But I don't care whether they're talking about parking on a pier that's sitting over the waterways. This is really, really bending the waterways and account, really bending, in my opinion. I haven't read the whole thing, but I just feel like they're bending this whole issue. And the town itself needs to get proactive where this whole kiosk and parking plan issue is going on. I mean, The CEC tried to take a proactive action with the police department, and CETA had their plan, and I just want everybody to come together on the same page and not buy one parking kiosk and then somebody else is gonna buy a different kind of parking kiosk that might not fit with this kind of parking kiosk. Nobody's on the same page, and this article is non-specific as to what they plan on doing with the $18,000.
In the tradition of Wareham, where we throw it against the wall and perhaps it sticks.
Yeah.
Never planning ahead to see what was behind us anyway. There was actually, Monday was a procurement class that was taken, and to me, this sounds like a procurement nightmare when you're starting to do things like this. So, I would not vote for this article at this point, especially since also at the selectmen's meeting last night, I believe there was some issues with the funding for community events. So I think we should just kind of either vote this down or table this. I'd vote it down because I don't think it should happen at this point.
Yeah,
I realize we need a parking program, but
You lose
let's,
money in revenue.
well, okay, so let's
Well,
do something wrong.
You're broke and you wanna cut down everything that makes
No,
money.
no, we're not saying that.
Yeah, you are.
Let me explain.
You are, you
No,
just
no,
said
no,
it.
Let me explain something, okay? They want to take this money out of Waterways account, okay? And buy parking meters for the pier,
Mhm.
all right?
Who
There's-
uses the pit?
there is an issue back and forth now with the whole CEC situation, okay? And the parking meter funds, okay, which I haven't gotten all the background yet because I need to go to a meeting next Monday. But there is no plan here. I can understand putting revenue in that's coming off of that pier back into the pier for improvements. But there is no, what's the word I'm looking
Okay,
for?
well,
There's nothing going on here that's any guarantee that that's gonna happen.
True.
Absolutely nothing. Nobody has any plan for how you're gonna get that money out of Waterways account onto the pier and then back into a pier improvement.
Yes, Mr.
I know that's their
Dominic?
idea.
Okay, I understand that's their idea, through you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
But why are you worried about where you're gonna put the money when you're gonna take it out of a revolving fund through an article? Okay, so you still have control of the money. Let's make the damn money. Worry about what you're gonna do with LA. It's in a revolving fund.
No, it's not in a Republic.
Well, okay, all right, it's going back into the waterways. That's what you
But
just
it's
said.
not.
Wait a minute, it says to transfer the sum of money, okay, from the waterways account.
They wanna take it out of the Waterways
Okay,
account
to buy
to put
kiosks.
parking kiosks on the pier.
Okay,
Can you enlighten me, Mr. Slavin?
This particular article was discussed before. This is money that the harbor master suggested he could use. The issue is basically, number one, and we're waiting for legal opinion, if you can take money out of the waterways fund to use for this particular purpose. Number two, we cannot take money coming off the pier for kiosks and put it back into the pier. This is revenue, this requires a special act. The money would go back into the general fund as of today.
thank you.
Thank you.
okay, so I'm still gonna say, it's still revenue made, and any revenue made is a plus for the town. You can do whatever you wanna do with it at a later date, let's just make it. We've been kicking that can down the road about losing revenue now for years and years and years. Yeah. Larry, you worried about schools, you worried about making money, you ain't got enough money for this, you ain't got enough for this.
I really
First
don't know.
opportunity you have to make money, you wanna throw it down the road.
You wanna go out and make money, you got
Yeah.
no accounting, nothing in place to how to collect that money, how to deal with that revenue, and you just wanna make money.
Yeah.
You have to be able to understand where it's going, how it's gonna get there, and
It's going into a cash-strapped town. That's where the money's going.
Are you sure?
Yeah, where else is it gonna go?
Show me where it's going.
Where else is it gonna go?
What, can you tell me what the selectmen's vote was, Mr. Slavin?
I don't remember off the top of my head, we may have tabled that one waiting for. Did we table it? See, Claire hasn't. Because the discussion was that we were gonna have to have legal opinion on
I
it.
think
What do we do?
I don't
They
think
table it?
No.
I don't honestly know, the hour was late, I didn't write it down. The discussion has been, can't you use that money out of the account, they do need to get legal advice.
Vote on your motion, it's okay. I'll refract everything else.
Hold on a second, hold on a second. Would the board be amenable to tabling it till next week?
I will withdraw my motion, sure.
No, no, not,
Then after we can move to table.
Okay.
no, can we move to table it?
Sure.
Mr. Trudeau?
Could I throw my nickel into
Yeah,
this since
sure.
everybody's gone into the well here? Moving $18,000 from the waterway into town is again, to Larry's analogy, let's throw something against the wall, see if it sticks. However, the point being, capital planning for, let's see, now I've been off for what, a year, Frank? For 2 years previous to that, we had a proposal by the town administrator. First, he wanted to start out for us to approve something before the end of the fiscal year, so we could put some money into that fiscal year and then into the next fiscal year, and it was gonna cost $84,000, and we rejected it. So then the following year, he did nothing. We've had a proposal come in from the CDC, and he wanted us to give up the upper parking lot, so we could put a garage in there, but he would run the pier, and he would control everything. But the town would still own it, but it would be in the CDC's name. The town can't get its act together. Round one. Round two, the pier is falling down. So, we are faced with one, the town can't get its act together. Two, we gotta do major repairs to the pier. Three, no matter what capital planning tries to do, there's been no comprehensive plan, to my knowledge, unless it changed this year, and I'm sure our representative of capital planning would tell me if it's changed. Unless this is changed, the town still doesn't have a plan. Now, if you don't have a plan and you throw money at it, it's been my observation over a number of years since I've been able to vote that with no plan and throwing money at it, we still have no plan and we have no money. So I'm not in favor of it until I see there's a plan and there's definite written commitments. Otherwise, all it's gonna do is see $18,500 go down the tubes. And I just don't see how that helps the town.
I don't see it as throwing $18,000 down the tube. I see it as the start of a profitable venture. You can find a way to spend the money whenever you want later, but at least give it a chance to make the money. We have tremendous beaches over there and everything. You got people coming from all around who go to Horseneck Beach, all these other towns, you pay $10, $8 to park, to use their facilities. You're giving one of our greatest resources away for nothing. So why not try to make some money off of it? The town is strapped. Whether or not it's the right, whether or not it's written properly, whether or not somebody got to do something to get it off on the start. Let's go. Work it out as it goes. That's just my opinion.
Madam Chair, to the previous speaker, Dominic,
Yes.
that's us. You, Bonnie, and I. If you look at the memo, our notes from December, we have a subcommittee to look into this. We've done nothing because there were other things that were happening. The holidays came, we had other things. I'm more than happy for you, Bonnie, and I to sit down, because the problem is just what she said. There's too many moving parts, and no one seems to be pulling them all together. So that's all we're asking for, because the 18.5 isn't gonna cover it, and we need to know where it's, we need to have that plan, so. Let's do it.
I'd like to move this until such time as we receive legal counsel's opinion as to whether or not it can be appropriately withdrawn from the
Table.
account.
All right,
The motion,
the motion is
to table it.
table
Until
it.
such time as we have a legal opinion.
Okay, and we can do that because there's already a motion and a second, so we can,
You just move it in a second. right?
okay. All right, I have a motion to move this,
Not move
until,
it, table it.
table it until second, until legal counsel can give us a,
Aye.
Aye.
wait a minute, did somebody second it?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling Article 12?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 7-0.
Ugh.
Table.
Yeah, the vote by the selectmen last night was 0-1-3. Opposed.
I think the three were abstained because they were waiting for legal.
Legal counsel.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, Article, We tabled Article 12.
Madam Chair, do I propose that we only deal with articles that have numbers in them? That are along the lines that we said, for good housekeeping.
Oh, okay, certainly.
Unless somebody disagrees, otherwise we'll be here until 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Article 13 is a housekeeping article, I'm almost positive, to see if the town will vote to approve under general law 44, 53 and a half, certain revolving funds or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. I think if you refer to your budget, you see those accounts.
I'll move favorable action on Article 13.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
I don't think 14's housekeeping. And I'm pretty sure 15 isn't housekeeping, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't have any numbers in it, so let's just vote on 15. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws of the town of Wareham by amending Article 16 definitions by adding a definition for medical marijuana treatment center, and to add a new Article 17 to impose a temporary moratorium for a period of 1 year to allow the town of Wareham to consider the regulations and permitting of such facility or facilities within the town or to act or any manner thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 15.
Second.
Any discussion on Article 15? Okay. All those in favor of Article 15?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Let's see, Article 16, no.
0, 0.
So we're skipping all of the,
We're skipping 14.
I think it needs to have more discussion.
Yeah, and Article 16 may have some.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions on that one?
You don't have numbers.
Yeah.
I looked at, this is, I'm the one that has been sort of wanting information on this one. If this was a business, and there's $88,000 last time I looked at it to fix these pumps, it would be worthwhile saying for $88,000, how much money am I going to save? And what's the payback on that? The budget for the maintenance department is that they spend $67,000 a year on gasoline, which is about 22,000 gallons. And they think that they're paying $3.13, and if they bought it at retail, they would save maybe 60 cents. So on 12,000, they sell.
$3.13, and you're telling me if they buy it at retail, they'll save 60 cents.
No, they'll cost, excuse me,
Yeah.
they'll save, by having the pumps, they'll
Right.
save the 60 cents, which is 12,000 bucks savings. So, and that's a 7-year payback or worse, if you look at the time value of money. And I don't know whether that's considered to be a good payback or a bad payback, but I think they should justify the expenditure of $88,000 in terms of savings, particularly where we know that the town has, the police department has the same pumpage problems, the same system, and then I guess the 2 fire departments have the same system. So this needs a more careful justification.
Go ahead, Mr.
Are you
Chairman.
saying that there are 3 separate pump systems in town?
Yeah.
Are you saying that there are 3
I
separate?
think there are 4. There'd be maintenance, police, and then the 2 fire.
Fire, yes, he's right.
And so we have 4 locations for.
Where we pump fuel.
I say we table it and have further discussion.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Can I just mention
Go
one
ahead.
thing? The fire's got nothing to do with the town.
No, I understand that.
Okay, that's all I wanted, that's
Yeah,
okay.
no, I
That's okay,
understand.
that's all I wanted to say.
Did you have something to say, add to the table?
I don't really, I'm sorry, I just don't get Tom's point, but okay.
Well, I do, but I just.
I don't-
Table.
If
I
I
don't get
may,
it at all.
once again, Madam.
Yes, yes.
We have, this boggles my mind.
Yeah.
4 different pump areas.
Yep.
To service the town.
Crazy.
I come from, excuse this, but some people would say I come from places where they don't have paved roads, but I'm not going to get into that issue. I'm going to say I've come from some pretty small towns, and they had 1 pump, and they had
one set in the ground. I've come from the military side in the Guard. We had one pump in Pittsfield, we had one in Westfield. And you wanted fuel, you went there and got fuel, or you put it on trucks and you hand pumped it. Point is, when you tell me we have 4 separate pumping areas in town, I'd like to know why we don't have a signature system and why we have to have 4. Because I think you raised a good point, Tom. The question is, what's the capacity of those of the 3? And what do you have to do to make it work? So to Larry's point, maybe tabling it, but I would certainly like to know, what's the capacity of each of those other, this doesn't make sense. Now, when you say you have four sites.
Well, I'm not against spending $88,000, but I think this may be a better, something higher.
But I'm sorry, to say that, excuse me, Madam Chair, through you, to say you have 4 places, Tom, you're actually wrong, though. You're talking about the town here. The town only has 2.
I understand.
Okay, police, and they want the other one, municipal areas. The fire, they're both districts, they do their own thing. You got no involvement with them. So you're only gonna have the police and municipal maintenance, so you're only gonna have 2.
Hold on a minute, Mrs. Donahue is up next.
Excuse
I
me.
wanted to move the question to table because obviously there's further discussion going on beyond what we had decided on.
Well, then, excuse me, then I have another question. Besides tabling it, you still have to rescind the money for the roof.
I'm gonna come back to that.
It's in the same article.
And we're tabling it till we get more information. So we're not
Okay,
voting on
okay,
it.
I can accept that.
We're trying to blow through this fast tonight.
All right, I'm sorry.
All right,
Okay.
there's a motion on the floor to table it till next week, and where are we gonna get the additional information from? We're gonna ask Mr. Gifford back in
I
here?
think we need, let's see, we need Mr. Gifford. Yes, I think we need to have Mr. Gifford in here. He was here there Saturday, but I don't think this is something we need to look at, and we need more information, so.
All right, okay, so, all right.
We'll figure it out.
All right, we'll table this, I mean,
Well-
we've got a motion on all those in favor of tabling article number 16, indicate by,
Aye.
Aye.
all those opposed, abstain? All right, so we tabled it, okay. And you want to have Mr. Gifford in?
Well, maybe somebody ought to go and meet him on his turf and understand how he got there.
I make a motion, Tom meets him on his own turf and understands how it works.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
All right, everybody opposed to that?
You gonna take care of that this week first,
But
Tom?
see, but it's not new,
If
Tom.
he's available, yeah.
Thank you for volunteering,
It's
John.
a failing system. It's just too old. The tanks are old and everything else.
But supposedly it's
Okay,
down, it doesn't
Article
even
seven-
work in that.
Article 17, to see
Okay.
if the town will, well, I don't know, this, yeah,
I
but
think
this
you should
is,
skip that, there's no sum of money in there.
yeah.
That needs a sum of money?
Just thank you. Parking meter fund, I think there's no money in 18. It's a housekeeping article, but it doesn't have any money in it.
Yeah, there's no money in
That's,
it.
but we do that always.
No,
We don't, no, there's money in it.
There's always money there, there was no money in either one of these articles.
Okay,
They
all right.
always mentioned money.
Number
Okay.
19, we're definitely
I'm sorry.
gonna, number 19, we'll just skip over that one for sure. 20, geez, you know what? This is pretty much a housekeeping article, per se.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
I know after last, anyway, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from the cemetery cells, lots and graves fund a sum of $15,000 to a special account for the routine care and maintenance of town cemeteries, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. Before we vote, wasn't there or was it another, maybe that was a perpetual care?
Yeah, that's the difference.
No, well, there was a problem with the amount of money they could allocate, they could take out because there are state law.
On that account, Larry, was interest only.
But this one too, as well, right?
No, I think this one here is different.
Okay, that's what I was asking. All right, so never mind.
I think you should look it up just to make sure.
Yeah, should we, I know it's a small potatoes, but you want to skip it and go back to it?
What is the committee's pleasure? You want to skip
You
this
want
or
to
you
wait a
want
minute, Dan Miller might be outside, she chairs the cemetery committee.
No, I no longer see her.
Sorry.
She got away.
Got away.
All right.
I got a breakdown last year from somebody in municipal maintenance of all the money, which is.
Okay, what's the committee's pleasure? Are we gonna table this, or are we going to vote on this?
I think we should vote.
All right, there's a motion on the, okay, the motion is seconded to vote on article number 19, am I correct?
No, Article 20.
20.
We got no motion yet.
Okay, that's, okay. Can I entertain a motion?
I'll move favorable action on Article 20.
Second.
All those in favor of article number 20?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
One abstain until I have information.
All right, then it's
701.
701, and that's article 20.
Article 21, no, we don't want to vote on that yet, we need more information. Article 22, we've already had the program, we've already had that brought before us, so I think we'd be safe in voting on 22. Anybody disagree?
I think we're safe on voting on 20.
All right, to see if the town will, Article 22, to see if the town will vote to authorize the creation of a new rental inspection revolving fund for the purpose of funding the cost of rental housing inspection program, which shall be credited with the receipts of rental inspections and rental violation fines not to exceed $50,000 to be expended under the direction of the Board of Health or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Somebody refresh my memory. I know the boys were here on this whole rental
It's-
thing. Was that a bylaw that needed to be passed first?
I don't think so, no.
It's just like a policy?
Right,
It's enforcement.
enforcement, yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
And the city of Boston has used it,
You're just creating a fund.
pardon?
Yeah.
Just creating a
Just
fund.
creating, income we're creating, Dominic.
Creating fund with a cap of 50.
How come everyone wants to make income? It only affects me. Okay? Thanks a lot, guys.
Oh, well,
I can park free on the
I
pier.
forgot to include some stuff. I thought you were supposed to talk about it.
Go ahead, well, okay, David, then, Marilyn.
As I recall, the presentation made when he was talking to us during a weekday back in January.
Speak up, please.
He talked about a fee of X number of dollars for an initial fee, then there's an annual fee thereafter. Now, being a suspicious guy and having watched a town surrender its authority to raise and control fees, I get nervous when we put into the hands of the town administrator and the selectmen the capacity, without stating what the fees will be, because there's a $10 fee to put a screen door on your house. Did you know that? We put a $75 trenching fee to go to hook up from sewer to your house. Well, we have to count the number of trenches. So the homeowner ended up paying $75 for a trenching fee that was impossible to avoid in the first place, because you gotta put a trench from where the sewer went by your house to your house. And it was imposed without the town knowing anything about it. It was just a fee that they dreamed up to make money. Now, I'm sure Don's in favor of dreaming up fees to make money, but the problem I'm having with this whole concept, I believe in the concept, it's correct. The problem I have is, there's no way of controlling the fees. And if they wanna raise those fees, they won't even know.
That's not true. I mean, there is they're going to, they did come in with a fee.
You mean the future raising? Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Does it say that the fees will be fixed until changed for the town meeting? No.
There was a specific schedule of
Yes.
fees that
It
they.
was $100 and $10 after. I know the numbers.
There was a question by Bonnie, and I believe it was a good question, is because it was confusing whether one was an annual fee.
Right.
There was an initial fee
And then an annual
fee.
Yes.
So maybe, and again, I think we have a lot of information, but we might want to ask a few more questions.
Point of information?
Sure.
Yes.
what they brought before us was a draft, so what we're asking to approve is the concept. Are we actually approving that schedule as they brought in with those fees?
We're approving a revolving fund.
We're just approving
establishing
establishing
a
a revolving
fund.
fund, so the details to be provided later. So
Exactly.
this is the we're voting on the concept.
Exactly.
It may never come to be the revolver fund that is replacing is the recreational, which is reduced to $1. That will be replaced by this one, will be set at 50,000 cap. It proves nothing as far as the program.
But now they have the ability to go forward.
If they
Exactly.
wish to go forward, right. And there's a lot to be worked out.
Thank you.
Okay. So, do we have a motion? Is there a motion on the table?
Yes.
Did I make a motion, Kelly?
No.
Okay, all right, let me do that now. Okay, hold on. I'll move favorable action on Article 22.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of Article 22, indicate.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
All abstain?
Opposed to.
You get two opposed.
You want, wait, what?
Two opposed.
Two
I
opposed.
think there's
Three opposed.
I think
Oh,
there's
three.
three.
Oh, there's three
Are
opposed.
you opposed to two? Okay, so it's five and three, okay, so that's five.
We can skip Article 23.
It actually does, David, if you read that,
Okay, we can skip it.
on his property is proposal for the regulations.
All
And
right,
it says,
all right, all right.
violations under provisions of Mass General Law
All right.
at $100.
Okay, Article 23 is housekeeping. To see if the town will vote to hear and act on the report of the Community Preservation Committee on the fiscal year 2014 community preservation budget, and further to reserve the future appropriations from Community Preservation Fund FY 2014 estimated annual revenues to meet the administrative, following amount recommended by the Community Preservation Committee. One, $37,700 to meet the administrative expenses and all other necessary and proper expenses of Community Preservation Committee for the fiscal year 2014. Number two, $75,400 for open space reserves. Number three, $75,400 for historical preservation reserves. And four, $75,400 to affordable housing reserves, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 23.
Second.
Any discussion needed on Article 23? All those in favor of Article 23?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
I'm
Unanimous.
abstaining.
Are you abstaining?
Make that two.
6.
Well, people get crotchety later on, doesn't it?
Article
Related to the-
24.
Article 24, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund to FY 2014 estimated annual revenue or any other available monies in the Community Preservation Fund under open space, the sum of $7,022 for payment for debt service on the property known as Bryant Farm, and further to appropriate under historical preservation the sum of $98,527 for payment of debt service on the property known as Tremont Nell, both voted for purchase by town meeting in April 2004, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 24.
Second.
Any discussion on Article 24? Yes, Mrs.
I just need to clarify something. Tom, did you say you were abstaining on the previous article because you felt there was a conflict?
No, me and my wife is on that.
Why do you feel like that's a conflict?
I don't ever agree with
Huh?
mine.
Do you make an honest
Well, is it-
opinion on that? I mean, you make an honest opinion on the article. We would, if we ever felt you had a conflict, we would call you on that. But you shouldn't
You've been here
abstain
that
from an
long.
article just because your wife sits on that committee. If he's abstaining from an article for every committee his wife sat on, he'd be in big trouble.
Wouldn't vote.
Nothing we can get accomplished.
Just wanted to make it
I'm really serious.
Yeah,
That
it's not a personal conflict.
Right, we don't feel that's a personal conflict.
Okay.
I mean, you
All
need
right.
to give an honest opinion. Don't sustain, because you
abstain.
feel as though we would feel as though you would have a conflict. I just had to get it off my chest.
Because you used to not vote on community events.
Yes.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Now you were,
Just one quick comment. If Mr. Worthing feels there's an appearance of conflict, all he has to do is go to the clerk's office, fill out a form, saying basically that I can give a full and honest opinion without, even though my wife might be on a committee that I'm voting on something. If you have no financial interest, you file that form.
Correct.
You're free and clear forever.
All right, so
Okay.
we got
Of my wife, or, oh, no.
That's on tape, buddy.
All those in favor of Article number 24?
Aye.
Opposed?
This is 23, right?
No, this is
Hey,
24.
Excuse me.
would you like to recall your vote for 23?
No, let's get through 24 first.
Are you abstaining, Tom, or are you voting?
I'll vote.
All right.
Okay, so that's,
This is, I mean, you can't vote
okay,
against
so
it.
that's 8800?
800. Article 25 is not housekeeping. Article 26 is not housekeeping. Article 27 is not housekeeping. Article 28, you want to talk about the dog bylaws?
No.
Okay, let's skip 28.
Can we go to 27?
What was
You can
27?
vote on 28, I just don't want to.
Did I miss one?
No, you did, you said it's,
It's
Not
not
housekeeping.
housekeeping, we're not going to talk about it.
Oh, okay, okay.
We're trying to get through this.
Okay,
I'm moving on, there's a lot on this dog article. Article 29 is,
is that this one?
that's housekeeping. To see if the town will vote to expend interest earned from loan repayments made between the town of Wareham and Wareham residential property owners as authorized under chapter 111, section 127B and a half, and/or chapter 29C of the general laws for use for the administration of the septic loan program and for additional so-called betterment loan payments, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
I'll move favorable action on Article 29.
Second?
Any further discussion?
Question.
Yes.
Does this mean, if there's interest earned on this, does this go back into the fund, or is it, just goes into the general fund?
No, it goes back into this particular account. This
So,
is the
so,
senior
so
account.
what we're trying to do is, once again, to tap into a fund that's growing by saying we want to use the interest to take care of administrative costs.
No. This is the one that Sal explained, what is, the money's staying in the account to help fund further what they're, the interest, instead of taking the interest out, they're putting the interest back in to further more septic loans and something similar. So that's what, I think that's the way it was explained to me.
Yes.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So that's actually a good thing,
But they're saying,
perpetually.
for use, for the administration of the septic loan program and additional so-called betterment loan program. So they want to tap the interest that's going back in there
to make more money available
to
for.
handle, to offset the costs of managing this program.
Yes.
I didn't get that, but,
Well,
yeah, that's what it says, you're right.
and so that says to me that, knowing how administrative expenses expand, that'll probably gobble up most of the interest, because these are low-interest loans that are outstanding. So that fund realistically is being tapped also.
Well, realistically, it takes someone to administer the program.
Well, I understand that.
Excuse me?
So if you just knocked out the administration of it and just say for additional so-called betterment loan projects, is that?
I don't think that,
Yes.
You can't do that
It's
here.
self-sustaining.
No. Okay, did you have something?
I believe it is capped, and I believe this is an annual
Yeah,
article that goes in that's required by the state.
exactly.
okay.
Any further discussion?
Okay.
Any further discussion on Article number 29? All those in favor of Article 29?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? 800.
Everything else is petition articles, which I'm pretty sure is not housekeeping. And there's only two left at that point. So,
Okay.
and one of them, well, both of them I think are gonna require some level of discussion. Now, maybe not a lot, but still some.
Hey, we definitely want to get these wrapped up next week. Because we have to have them all written by, yes.
The petition article by Mr. Mulkern is flawed,
Oh, okay.
and I believe you will find that his motion will be to withdraw it.
Okay.
It's flawed.
It's flawed, it doesn't accomplish
I
it.
know, I can see that.
Now.
Which one is it?
Article 30,
we don't need to vote on if it's flawed or it's gonna be withdrawn, so.
Okay.
And the last one probably bear a little bit of discussion, so.
Possibly.
And not mine either, but that's not the point here.
Oh,
I know he was trying to, but he didn't write it right.
Mrs. Dolan.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones.
I just put my hand up. I have a question. You went through a couple of our housekeeping articles, but not all of them.
That's correct.
Did you want us on your agenda for discussion, or
yeah.
we're all set?
Next week?
I don't think it'd be long, 'cause she did come to the meeting, the joint meeting. We didn't have a quorum, but she came to the meeting to discuss them, so we kinda got a good.
Okay,
Which ones are they?
It's 25, isn't it?
25, 26,
27, those three.
20.
Would you,
So those are not housekeeping issues,
It's
though.
the chimney.
Right.
can we, all right, do you want to come in next Wednesday? What time?
I've got a commitment at 7 o'clock on Wednesday.
Right, can you go and close up
Yeah,
at
I will
6:30?
be absent next Wednesday.
So will I. We'll miss you.
Okay, hopefully we have a quorum. All right,
I'm thinking about not coming in for that.
Well, how long's it gonna take? I mean, what's the,
Yeah,
she's
sure,
handing out
let's
what's
do
the general
26,
thing right now?
27.
You know?
do you want to do them now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Get them done.
all right.
It's 3 or 25, 6 and 7. Correct,
Okay,
ma'am?
do you want to, like to help us up, come on up? Lady?
Thank you for considering us this evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Convenient that you're just down the hall.
Okay, all right.
Article 25?
Would you like me to read them, or?
Well, you can,
When did Larry continue to read them so well?
Oh, yeah, let me fumble over another article.
you got it. Go ahead, Larry.
Article 25, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Affordable Housing Reserve Fund or any other monies available in the Community Preservation Fund the sum of $50,000 to the South Shore Housing doing business as Cranberry Manor for an affordable housing restriction and for the general rehabilitation of the apartments in the affordable housing complex located at 2220 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass, designated on Assessor's Map 103, Lot 1015A, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
Okay. You guys, give us a little.
It's a $50,000 grant we're looking for, as it says on the explanation, renovation of 24 affordable units. I'm looking to see,
The total project is 4.2 million.
Yep.
And they're looking for the 50,000 as a,
seed money.
yeah, support from the community for this particular project.
24 units?
24 units, I think that's what's there now.
Now,
I have paperwork here if you'd like to look at it on their application. Would you like to?
Does it say where the other money's coming from?
They've indicated that of their budget sheet, which is in the document that's being passed around, that 4% tax credits for a first mortgage, a state bond funds, a federal home loan bank, green funding, and existing debts. And the particular detail that's in the document going around shows the dollar amount from each one of those funding sources.
are these all Section 8 units?
They're on our SHI, they're 40Bs. I don't know if they're Section 8, but they're 40Bs.
Are they all based on income?
I believe so, because they're all classified as SA 40B. They're on our, yes.
Go ahead, Marilyn.
You know,
That was going to be my question. This is the property in West Wareham.
Right, yes, down by the
It's
courthouse.
been existing for many, many years.
70s.
you know that?
So this does not add to our affordable
No.
housing?
No, it does not add to our count. It just makes it a nicer place to live.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms.
Again, though, I know that something was brought up last year. Community Preservation wants to get in bed again with South Shore Housing after their reputation with what has gone in the past with the town. I mean, is that, I know that we did last time, I don't know if anything bad came about it, but you know you've had to sue them, and the town has sued South Shore and all that. So is that something we wanna, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, affordable housing, I'm all for and everything like that, but just the South Shore Housing is the only thing that is tough to swallow.
This is South Shore Housing.
Yeah.
It is, we just, they completed a project over at Depot Crossing.
I know that,
And
I
there
know
were no
that.
issues.
But prior to that, we had a lot of trouble with them, and I just wanted to bring that up, that's all.
No, anybody else have any comments on this one?
I'm not like real familiar, I think I understand this a little bit. This is a state-funded housing project, is that correct?
It's
Privately owned.
it's RAP program.
Explain that, honey. You're talking to somebody who knows nothing about this.
Okay, it's, they're issued vouchers, housing vouchers, and landlords have the, it's Section 8 pretty much. They have the opportunity to take them on, or not take them.
But she's saying the ownership is private as opposed to,
Who manages it? Is that the Dartmouth group that's managing it now, or Hal King? Who manages it?
I have a John Hickson, John Hickson with an H, Hixson. Is the,
Which company is he with?
Well, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
applicant is South Shore Housing Development
Oh,
Corporation.
so just South Shore Housing, okay. They don't have a management company, they manage directly
That's
themselves.
what I have.
And a beautiful nonprofit organization with extremely high-paid salaries. I love them. Sorry, David.
Oh,
You know how I feel about them. You know how I feel about them.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
let me
yes.
just read from their application. South Shore Housing Development Corporation is a regional nonprofit organization based on providing housing services and developing affordable housings in Plymouth and Bristol counties in Massachusetts, from their document. I hope that answers some of the questions.
No,
Does it have to?
Dominic and I have dealt with them.
I know, I would say, is the director's salary on that? I think the last time I looked it was like 2.2 million or something crazy. Non-profit, I love them. It's beautiful, beautiful downtown,
Who's paying
beautiful
the
business.
The rent is being paid by the state and the resident.
Assistant.
Assistant, 707, section
Oh,
8.
God, 707 is dead, isn't
Is
it?
it 707 dead? You used to get checked around, but
So the
whatever.
state's paying the grant,
No.
and they want to do repairs, and they want the town,
Pick
and
in
the state,
1%.
give them more money to do the repairs so they can make more money off the state.
There's no profit, Frankie.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right.
How about?
This is the same concept that we were, that when I went to the presentation for building the big affordable housing down, yes, thank you, Westfield,
I can't say
it
that.
never came to be. And the point was, yeah, you gotta talk to community preservation first, and they're getting into community preservation, that gets you all of these other grants and all of these other things along with that. Okay, so I do understand what they're doing
But they're
there.
coming out of the state.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're improving
Well,
existing,
now-
they're improving existing stuff,
Finding
though, right?
another way to move
This
on.
isn't new stuff.
This is
No,
not,
no,
this
this is
not
not
new.
new stuff,
it's
no.
not new.
It's a
Why,
good thing.
why didn't they put money aside to take care of this stuff? That's what I don't understand. I think I agree with Donna.
They rape and pillage, okay? What else do you want me to tell you?
If I had no state aid, if people weren't paying me, I'd be putting the money aside on
They've
that.
been running it to the ground.
Mr. Trudell, did you get anything new to add
I
on?
get too
Well,
heated, I
I
get
just have a question, because there's some things I just don't understand. We have 24 units that you want to rehab, right? And the total cost ultimately would be $4.2 million, or $175,000 a unit.
I have the breakdown of the budget sheet if you'd like to see it.
I'm thinking, that, you know, $175,000 a unit?
boy, that would go a long way in my house.
You know, I don't know about you, but
I can build a house for less than that.
thank you. And the other thing is, I look at that and I see 100 and some thousand, you can buy a beautiful manufactured home and put it in a lot. I'm having difficulty
the concept of we fund something to the point of, yes, so we can make more money on the state, and then I look at the cost of per unit to do this, and I'm really having problems of why we're taking money that's a surtax on my taxes to help somebody make money.
Right, Mr. Montgomery.
Well, first off, thank you. I had already done the math on that, and it looked a little high. This is kind of one of those issues for me. We had an article or two come up at town meeting where we had a company that was rehabbing old houses, preparing them for, I guess they'd go back in the market below market value to be sold to families, and I don't know if they counted against our housing stock or not, but the concept was the money that we were going to give him would help him to rehab the house, and then it would go to somebody else. The problem I have with this is, again, it sounds to me like we're giving $50,000 for a $4.2 million project, and we're really not getting anything new out of this. But if we don't do this, is it going to stop the project, and is that going to continue? Because let's face it, when housing gets run down, it becomes a blight. It affects your house values as well as my house values, so we don't want them not to rehab it. But $50,000 sounds a little bit like a drop in a bucket. Are they going to be able to do this for less than $175,000 a unit and not miss the 50,000? I guess my question. You know, maybe they can do it for whatever, $170,000 a year. I don't know. Is it something you have to do when someone puts an application out? You have to act accordingly.
We do put it forward.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
So, all right. That's
That
what I'm.
doesn't mean they're in favor or against it.
Right.
Put it
But
for.
you're doing what you're supposed to do at this
Yeah.
We voted 5-0-0 to put this article forward to town meeting because it met the criteria for affordable housing
Thank you.
under CPA rules.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then, do you want to vote on this now, or do you want to take it?
I would like one more question.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Slade. Okay, it met the criteria, and you voted 5-0-0 to put it before the town. That says to me that, yes, it met the criteria, but does it mean that it also represents your opinion that you should go forward with it? Because there's a difference between saying it meets the criteria and we vote to put it before the town, and there's one that says, yes, it's here, yes, we should put it before the town, but we also have opinions on that. I don't hear.
We are a committee.
That's right.
We cannot vote as an individual. We vote for what is best based on the rules and criteria that we have to follow. We are not voicing our independent voice in this committee. We're voting with our CPA guidelines.
Got it.
No, that's
That's a fact, that's a fact, that's a fact.
That's the
Well,
job
no,
we
I
have.
just said, I love it.
Now you gotta wait for the town meeting newspaper.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Right.
All right,
Which you're able to do, okay, so wait.
Entertain a favorable motion.
I'll entertain a favorable motion.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
I'm just reading, it's just 4% tax credits, and it doesn't say specific, are these federal and state credits, or is this local tax credits, do you know?
I don't think it's the town of Wareham tax
I would hope
credits.
not.
I don't-
No.
I
I hope we don't
don't
get
think so.
50,000 and they get a tax credit too.
No, that's generally, that usually is.
That's federal and state?
Yeah.
Okay.
They can't do it. Okay.
It doesn't say.
It just says 4% tax
Right, any
credit.
other questions regarding this article? I have a motion to, thank you, to, oh, that's right.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm slow. Where was I? I'll move favorable action on Article 25.
Second.
Barring no more discussion, all those in favor of Article 25?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Wow.
Dave, did you
All
see
by
that?
myself?
Yep.
Any abstentions?
I voted against it. You converted me after all these years.
I'm
I
telling
learned
you.
something.
One in favor and 7 against. Okay. All right,
Article 26, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund unallocated funds or any other monies available in the Community Preservation Fund under the category of open space recreation, the sum of $30,000 for the comprehensive conditions assessment of all town-owned playgrounds, and further to develop passive recreation plans for the following open space parcels: 1, Bryant Farm; 2, Ahern; say that right?
Ahern, yeah.
Ahern, well, okay, I'm southern, Ahern property, 3 Westgate property, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
What's the?
I think it's pretty clear.
The CPA laws have recently updated, allowing CPA funds to be used to renovate playgrounds on land that was not purchased by CPA funds. Prior to this, we could only do something to a playground in which CPA had bought the land. So it's now open to the town to use these monies, to renovate our pretty disgusting playgrounds.
You're absolutely right, too.
It's a good thing.
Yes, Mr. Gill.
Does it allow you to improve areas like the area below the Agawam Dam?
You mean the old, what was that, there's still that structure there? You mean the old Camp Lakota?
Running River?
Yeah, I'm not, possible.
I am in favor of this
But
article.
all this is a study and a evaluation of what we have now. We have certain documents that already exist. In 2009, the Open Space did a survey online. We have their results. Open Space did a 7-year open space and recreation plan. Fields and Grounds has done their own study on our playgrounds. All that will add to our documentation that will be sent out for a bid. So we probably don't need all 30,000 because if the better our documentation as a foundation would lower the cost. But this is what we have. It's saying this is up to 30,000 and no more, but we hope to come in under.
Mrs. Donahue.
I would just like to make a disclosure that my husband sits on the Open Space Committee, and I did find the packet of information about all the town-owned lands and playgrounds, which we spent several weeks of my recovery driving around looking at, and I think this is an admirable purpose because there is no way a group of volunteers can begin to get a handle on what's out there.
Okay.
Do we get a motion, Madam Chair?
Yes,
I'll move favorable action on Article 26.
I will second it.
Barring no more discussion, all those in favor of Article 6?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 8-0.
Article 27, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Unallocated Fund or any other monies available to the Community Preservation Fund under the category of historic preservation the sum of $100,000 for historical preservation restriction and the restoration of the historic chimney tower at British Landing Condominiums and Yacht Club, 53 Main Street, Wareham, designated on Assessor's Map 46, Lot 1006, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
Okay, I can't wait for this one. You tell
Yeah,
me.
this is great.
You tell me why that chimney is so historical. I just gotta know.
How about a motion?
Yeah, let's have a motion.
I'm waiting for the presentation first.
Is it-
Okay.
Like to answer that one?
Gee, I'm glad we came down the hall.
You're one and one right now.
When was it built?
112 years old, around 1900, circa 1900.
So it wasn't even there when the British landed? Okay, sorry.
It would have been burnt down if it had been.
In any case, it used to be a power plant and a car stable for the New Bedford and Onset Street Railway, which operated from 1901 to 1927. Okay, the chimney itself, the bricks are falling out. It's a safety issue. Like any other historic project, I'm going to tell you the same thing, that it's iconic. It's an iconic structure for the town of Wareham, and any of our historic properties are what consist of the historic character of the community. So, once it's gone, that's the end. They are looking at either restoring it or tearing it down. Tearing it down, I believe the estimate was around $40,000 less than this. They are willing to up the amount of money that they have so far said that they would pay towards this project to renovate it, or to restore it, excuse me. So, again, it falls under CPC guidelines, and so we have presented it. If we start tearing down all of our historic structures, we're gonna look like every other cookie-cutter little community down the road.
May I add to that?
Yes.
The total project, we have 3 estimates for it, all run about 140,000. We're looking for 100,000 from CPA funds, and British Landing, whatever they call themselves, will put in the 40,000 to, so they are supplementing the cost of this.
About a third, and possibly more. They're discussing bringing in more of their share.
All right, now, let's go in order here. Who's looking to, and let's try and keep our comments as brief as possible. Did you had your hand up before?
Yeah, I want to understand what sort of, now we do this, and now we put a historic, whatever, restriction on a chimney. How does that restrict what they do with the property around it in the future? It's just that nobody can touch the chimney.
Chimney cannot be torn down.
The chimney cannot be torn
Once the
down.
preservation restriction is placed on it. The details of the preservation restriction haven't been worked out, but it tends to be, you can't change the color, you can't put a mural on it, you can't, just because it stays a chimney or a smokestack, however old you are. As to what you
Perpetuity
remember.
is the big word.
Yeah. Nothing to do with the building around it, just the chimney. If it takes CPA funds, has to stay what it is.
Yes, Mr. Trudell?
Okay, so we're gonna restore this. Now, how long does this restoration last? Slate roofs have a life? Now, so we restore it. Is there anything that absolutely guarantees that these people in this condominium, or this yacht club, are required to keep it up, or can they just watch it fall apart? You don't have to maintain it, eventually the bricks come falling out of it. And we talk about the historic character of town, and I look at Tremont Nail, and I look at the office building, and I say to myself, what's important? Chimney that's owned by somebody, or an office building at Tremont Nail that's owned by the community? I'll have to debate that for a while.
All right, let's keep our comments as brief as we possibly can on this and move it along, please. Yes, Mr.
Not
McDonald?
really friends, I actually will be brief. If this was the condominium complex, I think you'd have a lot more support. This is a chimney that's in a complex, and once you do the historical preservation, there is no, thank you, guarantee of how long that is going to last. Is there? Is there a guarantee how long that's going to last? Because nobody's been, do they have to maintain it?
It would be part of the requirement. There has to be a preservation.
They would have to maintain it, or we would have to maintain it?
No.
They would.
They would. That would be, we haven't seen the HPR, so we don't know the details on it. But if you took a look at what we've done for other preservation restrictions, the owner of that particular entity is required to do maintenance on it, to keep it up. Now, this chimney's lasted 105 years or something thereabouts, so none of us will be around when it needs to be repointed again. But the idea is that preservation restriction will indicate that the owner of the property must do due diligence to keep it maintained.
Okay, reasonable care.
Reasonable care, I mean, that's typical wording within an HPR.
It is an icon. You
It
don't
is.
get no comment.
Definitely.
You're coming in with your vote, that is an icon.
The owner of the property is the condo association.
Yes, British Landing and Yacht Club or something like that, yes. They are the owner of the property.
Anyone else have anything? Yes, go ahead.
We already had this with Webster Hall, we had this come up, and the
Yes.
town said no in Webster Hall. And the other question I would have is, are we talking about actually taking this chimney out, taking it apart and reconstructing it with the original brick? Or are we talking about a true preservation effort where those items that are not original have to be duly noted and visible?
They
Do we
would,
know the scope of the work is what I'm asking.
yeah, we had Eric Dray, who is a historic preservationist, come down and evaluate it. And so he has stated in his letter to CPC what he would require, or would suggest that we require them, and it would be bricks that would match what's there, pointing that would match what's there, everything restored to look as though they were original.
That's not preservation now, like antiquity.
Well, it's preserving the chimney from complete,
Yeah, it's holding on to the structure, but that's not preservation. I can speak on it, believe me. It's not preservation. It has to be duly noted. What
it's
is
restoration.
original?
It's restoration.
Right, I don't see what's historic preservation. You're just restoring a visual look to what you're saying. Now, I go back to Webster Hall, we said no on that.
Webster Hall was a for-profit business, this is not.
The condos.
Condos are not.
They're not gonna make any money off the
Madam
chimney,
Chair,
are they?
is what we're talking about.
Hold on.
Aren't they just going for ambiance? I mean, come on.
I would address that just, as I haven't made up my own mind about this, but because I'm a little bit more comfortable because it is a condominium ownership, which means that it's not just one, it's much more difficult to get rid of a condominium once it's been created. It's private ownership of each and every one of those units. So each and every one of those units, of which there are 54 maybe, I don't remember, but there's some commercial, and the vast majority of them are residential. Every single owner, every single unit has a share and a say in this, to do this. So it's not like it's going to benefit one party. So that, and if you had one, if this were owned by one building, if it were an apartment building, you could change your use, you might want to do something in the future to change it, but it's very highly unlikely that that use will be changed.
Anyone else have any further discussion on this article? All those in favor of article number?
Motion already?
Oh, no, I didn't make a motion, I'm sorry. I'll move favorable action on Article 27.
Second.
All those in favor of Article 27 indicate by
Aye.
aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
So there's 3 for it.
What was the vote again?
Could you do it then again?
Yeah, what was the vote again? All in favor?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
You're opposed to, so it's
350.
350.
350, okay. All right.
Beautiful chimney, you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
The beautiful chimney, you guys.
You saved you next week.
Yes, next day, does next week.
All right, let's move along here. We're gonna review the town meeting deadlines. Kelly? Okay, we have those in our package?
Yep.
Okay,
Great question, we really have people want to speak with us, I think we need to do it as soon as possible.
exactly. All right, now who do we have to have it in? We have to have,
Municipal maintenance, I remember that.
no, I thought Tom's gonna talk to him.
Oh, okay, I apologize.
Tom's talking to Mark Gifford, is that, am I correct on the gas pumps? Okay, who else do we have to have in?
Petition article.
Petition articles, basically, obligations of foreclosed or abandoned properties.
Someone was gonna
That's the one
tell.
that's gonna be,
Yeah, they're gonna squash that one, so no bother.
Oh, okay, that's right, okay.
Upper Cape.
Okay, Upper Cape, yes. Upper Cape, we have to get in.
You're gonna have Upper Cape in after tomorrow night?
Superintendent, yeah, why not?
Superintendent, yeah,
You won't get much tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, you're gonna get this.
yeah.
It's a school.
Exactly, so we'll.
The public hearing for the
Well,
school
and
committee before the.
We'll ask him to come in next Wednesday.
We asked,
We're 33% of the student body over there.
yeah, but we asked them questions, they said they'd come back to us with answers.
She's
Yep,
incredible.
that's right.
She's
Okay.
incredible.
Okay, so we've got Upper Cape, trying to think.
Someone's gonna deal with the harbor
Do you wanna
master?
go through the dog thing? Do you want somebody to come in and talk about the
No.
dog thing? I don't think so either.
There's no money involved in it. Why don't we let it be settled on the town clerk?
There is money involved in it. Please don't say there isn't money
Oh.
involved in it. There's money involved.
Fines.
It's
Yeah,
fines.
Can you
There's overtime
quantify-
for cops running places that there shouldn't be. There's money involved.
This is more about the, and not the enforcement, but the legal avenue, who's making the hearing for it, and I don't know.
How long the leash is and
I-
everything else.
I'm sure there's money involved, you can find money involved in every one of these articles, but I don't think it's a quantifiable amount.
It isn't to me either, I think they worked really hard on it, let it stand and let it
We
go
have
to
enough,
town
we have
meeting.
enough other hard work to do.
That's right.
Yep.
So with you,
There's gonna be 3 rules for
Yeah,
towns anyways.
but then we can
First
put,
time it bounces,
okay,
jump to
okay, so
shut
2
up.
weeks up, that's
First
so
time
this
it
is a week
bounces,
of
smack in the
uppercase
head.
and town administrator, okay.
So there's only 3 things with that. First time it bounces.
All right,
Second time you smack it on the head. Third time you shoot it. It's easy, those are 3 laws.
now, Article 31, who's
we don't,
putting that on?
we can't.
That's a petition for the sewer commission.
Yeah.
Petition article. So shouldn't the petitioner come in? No?
Well, that's what I'm asking, who's,
Oh.
oh, it's started by Dorothy Heath.
Well, it took me long.
I didn't know that.
Bingo!
I think you should have her in to talk about
I
it.
think so too. Okay,
Who's this Dorothy Heath person?
He's saying that the camera's on.
I think we should, I would love to invite social housing.
we've
No,
already voted them
I
down.
know, but I would like to invite.
you just want to rub it in, is that what you're saying?
No, I just, oh,
Okay, so that's, so all we need is the town administrator, Upper Cape, and Mrs. Heath.
but, excuse me. Someone's gonna privately do with the harbor master, am I correct? We're not gonna invite him
Who's
in?
doing the harbor master?
I thought.
What are we doing with the harbor master?
I don't have a question on it.
Well, I thought we had questions.
Yeah, we have no-
Yeah. We either gonna invite him in or have someone
Oh,
stand.
that's right too, the line painting fund, okay. What about the vehicles for school transportation?
That's the school committee. Is that the school? Or is that capital?
We-
Not spending, so in theory, it's town.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, no, no.
Somebody, we need somebody in to tell us
Who
about
who do we ask to come in?
the town administrator.
Town administrator for that one, okay.
He'll be here anyway,
If he
so-
designates someone else, he'll be.
TA, okay. The line painting fund, the harbor, so we'll ask Mr. Buckminster to come in for the municipal, harbor and beaches municipal maintenance fund.
I don't think it's necessary for them to come in. I mean, the thing, I mean, I'm sorry, the TA should have those numbers. If they asked for this amount of money, they should have those numbers.
Okay, so we'll
I'll
just
see what I
ask the
can
TA.
find out before to talk to whoever I need to talk to.
So just get these numbers from the TA, is that where you?
Well, yeah, I would like to know, I mean, I don't really care. I just like to know how much they want and what's the balance in the account. Is there money in the account?
Right, we didn't vote it because we didn't have all the information.
I got you. So the TA should be able to answer that, okay. And the school textbooks and school technology infrastructure as well.
School committees.
Yeah, so that's, no,
I don't think we have questions on it, I think we need to have more discussion about it. so.
Okay,
I really think we need to have, once the school committee, or if they ever do, hopefully they'll, in the next week, get their act together and maybe have a little, just a quick brief discussion on what they've done and where they're at. We need an update, maybe the town administrator's the guy to do that.
well, that's what I was saying.
So come on here, we can talk, Brian.
I'm not gonna call
Okay.
it, you know, you're too big.
All right,
Maryland's
all right, so the only other ones, the only petitioner we need is Mrs. Heath, town administrator, and Upper Cape. That's who I'm looking for to come in 2 weeks. All right, and what about, is there,
So there's no meeting next week?
well, that's what I was just getting to.
Oh, boy.
So, do we feel we need another meeting next week?
Well, we got, as much as I don't like it, yes.
Okay.
I understand, I don't care when we get it, we gotta do it,
So,
that's all I
want
want.
to start the public hearing right now? That's not on the agenda, okay.
But that, assigning these articles.
It's not really on the agenda, we set the meeting date.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
We're going to have the special meeting town warrant
yes, we are,
available.
we are.
But that's not very saying what's the placeholder.
We'll have it next week, so
Okay.
that should be our.
So, okay, why don't we do this next week and we'll assign the articles next week to
Okay.
the writing. Okay, it should be a brief meeting.
Are you going to do, are you going to address the body with a letter?
I am, and Mr. Heath, you said you could give me a hand with that. Yes, you did, you offered.
Well, the town is supposed to help us. We should-
Okay, all right.
And you don't want me writing anything right now. This is not a good
All
time.
right, okay.
I'm in a dark place, buddy.
So we're meeting next week, we'll do the special town meeting warrant articles and do our assignments next week.
Right.
I will not be here, as I said.
I will not be here.
Lucky you.
Okay, Bonnie's gonna take one
Bonnie's
for
doing a few
45.
Can everybody try to make it on time, everybody else, so we can get a form and get going on this right away?
You need me to sign it, read it, please?
Is the meeting actually start at 6 or 6:30, dear?
6:30.
I can't make it at 6, but I will get it soon.
6:30.
Oh, I'll get out of work.
All right, is there any new business? Okay, liaison reports, we don't have any of those.
Not tonight, no.
Okay, approval of the minute meetings of January 17th, 2013, January 18th, February 6th, what?
Motion to approve minutes of January 17th.
I wasn't here.
Okay, I'm not sure if I was either.
I don't even know why is it
Those are the
17?
daytime
read them
meetings we
yet.
had.
Oh, yes, okay, all right, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't at those.
The 17th and the 18th, I was at the 17th. All those in favor, entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 17th, for any,
So many.
okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
I abstained, I was not there.
Okay, all right.
Motion to approve minutes of
18th.
18 January.
So moved. Only Tom can second. You were there on the 18th.
Yeah, you can second
You
it.
need a second.
Second, excuse me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't there.
Abstain.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion for a meeting, February 6th?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. All those opposed?
Abstained because I wasn't there.
Okay. I have a motion for the meeting minutes of February 20th.
Make a motion to accept the meetings of the 20th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next meeting date will be a week from tonight, which will be the 20th? I'll entertain a meeting, a motion to adjourn.
Chair, I'll make that motion in just a second. I just wanted to address the committee and thank you for your indulgence. I apologize for being late. The day job has been a little bit not so much fun, and I apologize for the use of my smartphone. I did finally get to put it away. Thank you. Be done. Motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Someplace in there.